26-year-old prep cook Amy Smith and chef Stephen Huffman are suing Amy's ex-friend, 26-year-old homemaker Kelly Warden, for stealing money. Kelly says Amy is pulling a fast one.
According to this complaint, you gave the defendant a certain amount of money.
Yes.
Money that she was to give to an attorney because you were in the process of seeking a divorce.
Yes.
It is your claim that she stole that money, never turned it over to anyone except herself. You want it back. Defendant says this is a whole story that's made up by you because you took this money from your grandmother and spent it. What does this man have to do with anything?
This is my brother Stephen. He came down with me to get receipts and a phone number from the lawyer.
Oh, he's a witness?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? Okay. When did you first approach her about seeking some advice about a lawyer?
In December, I told her that I had to find a lawyer so I can do a legal separation or a divorce. And she said that she could help me out. I thought I could trust her.
Gives her qualifications to help you out with anything?
Well, she told me she already went through a divorce. She told me how much it would be. It was like $920. I gave her that money, and then she called me again.
Just a second. Why did you give her the money?
Because I lived an hour away, and it was like I didn't have a vehicle or anything.
Does anybody in your family have a car?
Yes, but they work, and I'm not allowed to drive their cars.
Go ahead. So you gave her money for the lawyer without even calling the lawyer?
I asked her if I can get the phone number.
Is the answer yes or no?
No.
You didn't call the lawyer?
I couldn't. She didn't give me the number.
Of course you could. Keep going, Miss Smith. So you gave her $920.
Plus 500 and something.
When did you give her the other 500?
She came up to New Berlin, up to my grandmother's house. My grandmother wrote the check out to me, and she said it would be better if I gave her cash and stuff, so I signed the check and cashed it.
And the money never got to a lawyer, is that
No.
what you're telling me? And when did you find that out?
My brother and I and my father went down to her trailer to get the rest of my stuff because I was moving down there, and then I decided to move back.
Moving down where?
To West Windsor.
So you managed to get somebody to drive you down there.
My brother
on a Thursday?
took off work.
Listen to me.
Sorry.
You managed to get somebody to drive you down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stand up. Your last name is?
Hoffman.
In 30 seconds or less, you tell me what you know about this money.
My grandmother allowed Amy to borrow the money from her. We drove Amy down that day to, because everybody in the family thought, well, why didn't you get any receipts from her from this lawyer? So we finally...
Because that's what she was telling you. She was telling you that listen to me.
She basically
Mr.
manipulated.
Huffman, your sister was telling you that. And she gave her a receipt.
Handwritten receipts from a lawyer.
Miss Warden says that your sister asked her to write out these receipts because she had taken the money from your grandmother.
Yep.
Let me hear what she told you.
Amy called me up and said that she's in trouble, that she was her husband had just left her. He was filing bankruptcy. She says, well, my grandmother's gonna give me a couple of checks. Will you please come up and take me to the bank and cash them? December 9th, we went to her grandmother's, picked up a check for $920, cashed the checks at Key Bank, and she decides she wants to go shopping. We went to Walmart. She bought me a numerous amount of clothing, my daughter all kinds of clothing, toys.
So what you're saying is she took this money from her grandmother. Now, I want you to tell me, because I read it in your answer, what she said to you about these receipts that she wanted you to sign.
Her mother and father were harping on her for some receipts. So she asked me, she says, Kelly, could you please write me some receipts, please? I want one saying that I gave a lawyer $920. No big deal. I was helping my best friend. And then she asked me if I'd write another one for $1,420. I said, sure, no problem.
Those are the two receipts that you have.
So I wrote them.
These are the two receipts that Kelly wrote, and we also have copies of the checks that were written.
To Amy, not to me. To Amy.
That's true. They were written to Amy, but there is no way that Amy would steal money from my grandmother.
Listen to me,
There's a lot
Mr.
of
Huffman.
things you don't know about
You
her.
don't know that. Okay. Did your sister ever hold a job?
She holds a job, but she's very ill sometimes. She has asthma.
I have asthma.
Shh. Please, could you do me a favor and be quiet? I don't want to hear you again until I ask you a question. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Mr. Huffman, your sister's story doesn't sound true to me. Do you understand? And I know it's very hard for you and your family to say, She took money from her grandmother under false pretenses. But somehow it doesn't make sense to me that what appears to be two relatively intelligent people, you certainly, your sister sounds perfectly normal to me, would say, I want to get a divorce. Take $1,420 and without speaking to the lawyer. First $900, needed more, haven't spoken to the lawyer. Another $500.
Us as a family were asking Amy, what are you doing? We said, why didn't you get information for her? At one point, Kelly called her down and said...
Did she ever say to you?
She had paperwork.
Shh. Mr. Hoffman, did your sister ever say to you, could you take a day off from work and drive me to the lawyer's office?
I would have. Amy...
Did your... To ask me the question, did your sister ever say that to you?
No, she didn't. She was in a vulnerable state in her life.
No. Listen to me, sir. She did it because she took the money.
Amy did not use the money.
Yes, she did. Your sister's story doesn't make sense because she has a family, she's close to her brother, and the reason she gives me for not going to the lawyer herself initially is because the lawyer was an hour away, and she doesn't have a car, she doesn't have an access to a car, but she has access to you.
Her husband handled all this stuff before, and she didn't know how to do it, and she wanted to do things on her own. To prove to us as family members that she could do something herself.
Did she ask you to help her move down to...
She asked my other brother.
And did he?
No.
Shh. Did he bring her... Did somebody take a day off from work? Who took a day off from work?
Friend of my brother's.
But your other brother did, according to your sister.
No, he did not take a day off of work.
What part of close your mouth didn't you understand? Close your mouth. Each one of those words has one syllable. I'm not trying to confuse you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand, Mr. Hoffman? Your sister took the money and she spent it. She did not give it to her. She may have spent some of the money on her. She may have bought her clothes. She may have bought her things. But no normal person says, here's the money for the lawyer, and I don't have to talk to the lawyer. So your case is dismissed.
That's why we went up there.
That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Why does that excuse you?
Lied.
Step out.
Amy lies all the time.
No,
yes,
she didn't
it is
spend the money.
possible.
You're a
Yes, she
liar.
did.
Keep your big, fat pig shut.
It's not between him, it's between me and Amy, so he needs to just butt out.
Yeah, you're a liar.
She's lied to her mother. She tells her mother she don't smoke. She smokes. She tells her mother all kinds of crap.
This
We
girl
steal
was in
all the
jail.
time, so
Yeah,
was in
whatever.
jail.
Talk to the hand.
Amy is a liar.
Lies.
Professional manipulator.
It was Christmas time. She wanted to go shopping. She had no money.
I did
That's
not.
a lie.
That's a
Anybody
lie.
could say
I
that.
feel sorry for Amy because now she's got to go back and explain it to her grandmother.
Oh, I'm not friends with that thing anymore.
That's
why
right.
Amy
Go home and suck it up, baby.
Share Carla Williams and her children, 16-year-old Nicholas and 14-year-old Rachel, are suing Carla's ex-boyfriend, house painter Gene Martin, for the return of their belongings. Gene is countersuing Carla for unpaid rent and for shooting a gun in their house.
Why don't you two have a seat? Miss Williams, you and Mr. Martin lived together for about 10 years. You have children. I assume these are your two children. Is this your child, Mr. Martin?
Yes, it is.
And you have a child together.
Yes, ma'am.
A daughter?
Yes.
How old?
7.
Okay. Does she live with you?
Yes, she does.
According to your complaint, there was some sort of an altercation with Mr. Martin. You fled the house, and when was that?
December 1st.
And you claim that Mr. Martin, sometime after that, threw away your children's property, these
Yes.
two children.
Yes.
And you want the return of that property, which of course he can't give you because he threw it away, or the value of that property. Mr. Martin says that you didn't flee the house after an altercation, but that you had a fight sometime in November, and that you shot a gun off in the house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that Mr. Martin took your daughter, and he fled the house. He left, and you were gone for about a week with the child. Is that right?
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
After you shot the gun off in the house, what happened with Mr. And it was sometime in November. What happened with Mr. Martin?
It was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had found out Mr. Martin had been seeing another woman, and I got a little inebriated, and I did fire the gun off in the house. My brother and my mother came to get me, and I took my 2 children to Sacramento, and he took the other 2 children. We had plans to go to his mother's house in L.A. for Thanksgiving. He went to L.A. He arrived back Saturday, December 1st.
Okay. So he did take You didn't spend Thanksgiving together as planned. He did take his son and your 7-year-old daughter, your joint 7-year-old daughter, away for about a week.
For 2 days, Your Honor.
2 days. When you came back, according to you, Mr. Martin, she then took the child and went to her brother's house.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, but he told me I couldn't be there.
Right, because you had had this major falling out where you shot a gun off in the house. So you took the child, I assume without his permission.
Yes.
And you fled to your brother's house.
Correct.
And he came to your brother's house looking for his daughter, trying to get his daughter back.
Correct.
And whatever property that was left in the house that belonged to your children, because some you got, is the property we're talking about. But that sort of sets it up. Now, that's more the truth than what I got from your complaint, which was, in your complaint, you say that you fled the house with your children and with only the clothes on our backs while he was in the bathroom. The truth of the matter is you was taking your daughter without his permission.
Well, I didn't feel I needed his permission.
Why not?
Well, because he didn't have my permission to take our daughter over Thanksgiving.
You got drunk and shot a gun off in the house, madam. And you weren't taking your daughter for a planned vacation, which is what he did.
It was for Thanksgiving.
You were all supposed to go as a family, except you had a fight. And what you were doing was setting yourself up as the winner in a custody battle by taking physical custody of the child without his permission. I've been a family court judge a long time. I know exactly what you were doing.
When I was there, I was hoping we could reconcile when I came back.
Well, evidently he didn't want to reconcile, and you decided to get the advantage by taking your daughter out of the house, fleeing your house, and going to your brother's house. I'm just saying to you that what you said here in your complaint is not truthful. You didn't flee the house with the clothes on your back. You were stealing your daughter. Now, that was the 1st of December, and if these children want to leave, I think that that's a great idea. They can all go outside, even though this is their property. If they want to go outside, it's certainly fine with me.
You want to stay?
Yeah.
You
Fine.
okay?
Yeah.
How about
Good.
you? Okay.
Good. That was on December 1st. When did you come back to get your property?
Well, I got a restraining order on December 3rd.
Why did you get a restraining order? Who gave you a restraining order?
The judge.
For what?
Because he came down, pushed my kids around, tried to break through my brother's door.
Because you... And a judge gave you a restraining order?
There were other mitigating circumstances that he felt it could be necessary. He also gave me a 3-year restraining order.
I certainly hope not based on that incident.
No, that and several others.
What about a restraining order with regard to him for shooting a gun off in the house? Did he get one against you?
No, ma'am.
Did he apply for one?
Not that I know I'm aware of.
Right. How long did you leave your children's property in the house?
I contacted him on January 8th.
Did you go and get any of your property on January 8th?
No, I did not.
Did you at any time after January 8th go and retrieve property?
I did in April.
On what date? In April?
In April.
So he kept your property from December 1st to April?
No, he told me that the property had been thrown out on January 8th. That there was nothing to get.
So what did you get in April?
Just some stuff that he left behind. Our mutual daughter stuff. And there was a couple items of furniture. He kept a lot of the furniture. I paid for it.
You more than exacted your pound of flesh, madam. I don't know the history. I don't know either one of you two people. All I know is that from the bare bones facts that I've heard, there is absolutely no basis for you to have been granted a 3-year protective order against him. And you were trying to get a leg up in what was going to be a disputed custody case on the 1st of December by taking physical custody of your child at all costs. And what he was trying to do was, probably not smart, but because you had taken the child and fled, which is what you did, you waited until he went into the bathroom, and then you took the child. But you do acknowledge that,
Well,
that he was in the bathroom when you fled. Yes. So he was in the bathroom when you fled with the child. Okay? And what he was trying to do, not smart, is he got furious and he went to try to get the child back. He did not file for a protective order against you for shooting off a gun in the house, getting drunk and shooting off a gun. That requires a protective order.
He's a very abusive man, Your Honor.
He may be. What you did was wrong.
I understand that, but
what you did was wrong. What items do you say threw out that belong to your children?
Everything. My son got his PlayStation 2 back and his boombox. My daughter got a couple days worth of clothes.
When did your son get his PlayStation 2 back?
He took it with him. He left after I did.
What do you mean he left after you did?
Jamie and I left, and then my mother and the 2 kids followed behind.
So your mother was part of this scenario that was set up?
It was not set up. I was there to reconcile.
You were there to reconcile.
Yes.
And what happened? You came back and he said...
He said, "What are you doing here?" And then he informed me that I wasn't going to take Jamie anywhere, and that was that. And so...
So what did you do?
After trying to talk to him and seeing that I wasn't going to get anywhere, I took her and left.
Tell me how you did that.
I picked her up, put her in the car, and we drove to Sacramento.
Where was he?
He was upstairs.
So he was upstairs, and what you did was you took your child, rather than going through a civilized court process, you took the law into your own hands. You took the child and fled. It's normal for him to come and try to get the child because you waited until he went upstairs to the bathroom, according to you, and you stole out of the house and went hundreds of miles away. So you abused the court system because then you went into court and said he tried to break down my brother's door to get my child away from me, and you got some judge to believe that without asking enough questions. You got a restraining order. So in my judgment, you abused the system. You didn't come into this courtroom with clean hands, and your case is dismissed. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
4-year-old student Jesse Rendez is suing his schoolmate, 25-year-old student Donnell Scobie, for dental bills due to an assault. Donnell is countersuing for a false arrest.
Mr. Rendez, what school did you go to?
San Francisco State University.
And how long have you known Mr. Scobie?
Approximately a year and a half.
It is your claim that Mr. Scobie assaulted you, caused you some physical injury. You want him to compensate you for that and also to pay some of your dental bills.
Correct.
Mr. Scobie says that he acted in self-defense and he's countersuing. He says because of your actions, he spent some time in jail, limited time, and his academic record was placed at risk. When did this incident happen and where, sir?
It happened approximately at 4:15 on 4/18/2002 in the kinesiology department of San Francisco State University.
Tell me what happened.
First, I'd like to state that, yes, the defendant and I were friends. However, if I would have known about the defendant's history of violent crime and...
Tell me what happened.
I'll tell you what happened? Okay. Well...
And try looking at me when you tell me what happened.
Sure. Okay, Your Honor. Like I said, on 4/15 on 4/18/2002, I asked the defendant to use a cellular phone of his. Being that we were friends and I have let him use my cellular phone in the past, I figured that he would definitely let me use the cell phone. He said no, he couldn't let me use the phone. I explained to him that it wasn't...
Did he tell you why?
Not at that point. He didn't tell me why. That's when I explained to him it's emergency. Can I please use the cell phone? It is an emergency. I let him know that. And then that's when he told me why he couldn't.
And what did he say?
That it's not my phone. That's when we began to get into an argument. I told him, you're not going to let me use this phone, it's an emergency. That's when I said, I really don't want anything to do with you any longer. I would appreciate it if you wouldn't be my friend anymore.
Mr. Rendez, that doesn't sound like language you use when you're annoyed. Why don't you tell me what you said to him? I
exchanged violent words with him as far as...
Violent words with him?
Yeah, as far as bad words. Not violent words, bad words. You know, F you, this, don't F with me anymore. I just, you know...
Right.
That's when the defendant went outside and gestured me to fight him. I told him I did not want to fight him at school because my standing at school would be affected, Your Honor. I did not want anything to do with him as far as a physical confrontation.
No, just a second. That's not what you said to him.
Well, I did say, Your Honor, that I didn't want to have any physical confrontation at school. I said that.
You said, I don't want to have any physical confrontation at school. Those were your words. Is that what you want me to believe?
Well, not like that. I said,
No. Then understand me, sir. I want you to tell me what you said to him. He's gesturing to you to come on and fight him, and you said...
Then that's when I turned away and walked away from him.
Oh, well, because you just told me before. You told him that you didn't want to have any confrontation at school to him because you didn't want it to affect your academic standing.
Correct.
That didn't take place.
No, it did. That was when we were... I'm sorry, Your Honor. That was when we were walking down the hallway. When we were walking down the hallway, that's when I said, I'm not going to fight you at school. This is going too far. I do not want to fight you at school and have anything at school to jeopardize my standing at school. Then that's when he went outside. He went outside and gestured for the fight. That's when I turned around. I began to walk away from him to diffuse the situation. I did not want a confrontation with him, Your Honor. That's when he came in. He rushed in the doors. I turned around, Your Honor, And then, bam, that's when the assault occurred.
Tell me about the assault.
I turned around, boom, that's when the assault began. Everything went flying.
No, I don't understand what boom means.
Well, boom, that's when I was struck in the face, Your Honor.
I'm
sorry.
That's an answer.
I'm sorry. That's when I was struck in the face.
And that's when your tooth was injured.
That's when my tooth was injured, correct. That's when my tooth was chipped.
And what did you do after you were struck in the face?
All I remember, Your Honor, is the defendant kept saying, it's going to keep getting worse, it's going to keep getting worse. He kept repeating, it's going to keep getting worse. When I was trying to get as close to the defendant as possible so I could try to wrap him up so that I wouldn't get it hit any more times. That's when I wrapped him up and we began to wrestle. I kind of shook him off me, and then that's when I went to the office to receive help, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, now, Mr. Scobie, your version of the event, sir.
Okay, it was, like the plaintiff said, it was April 18th. I was with a study group studying. I needed to make a call later to a friend that I had a date with. I borrowed a friend's cell phone, went outside, made my call. As I was finishing my call, the plaintiff walked up to me, asked me, can I use your phone? And like he said before, we were friends. We played basketball numerous times together. We were on the same teams together. And I told him, the woman whose phone this is she told me to make the phone call quick for myself. So, let alone I'm not going to let the plaintiff use the phone. So I said, no, you can't use the phone, but here, I have a pocket full of change. I even gestured to give the guy some change. That's when he said, in curse words to me, you're a punk, and it just kept going on and on. I didn't know where this came from. Him and I, a couple days earlier, had hung out and actually had lunch together. Or even, I think, earlier that day.
You didn't let him have your phone, and he was frustrated. So he used a lot of bad language.
Yes, he said...
Keep going.
And so he used a bunch of foul language with me. I said, you, and I walked away from the plaintiff. That's when the plaintiff opened the door, came in, and so my back's to him. I'm walking down the hall, and gestured to me, you want to handle this?
Keep going.
And so I walk up to him, and I say, whatever, you want to handle it? What are you talking about? He goes, let's go out back. So I start walking down another hall. The whole time he's ranting and raving, I'm going to whoop your punk so-and-so. At that point, the plaintiff swooped behind me, tripped me from behind, Your Honor. I started to fall down. As I fell down, I gained my position I thought the guy was attacking me, because it wasn't like we're going to, take a walk in the park. He was telling me he's going to kick my ass. So, and that's when I turned around out of self-defense and, struck exactly. So the plaintiff then gets geared up. He comes with a flurry of punches, of which, this incident didn't just happen right here. He pursued me on numerous occasions. As I tried to walk away, he came at me with at least 5 or 6 punches. And yes, I said it's going to get worse. I'm thinking he's coming at me. I'm backpedaling in my flip-flops. It's going to get worse. I'm not going to just sit here and let you throw punches at me. At one point, I tripped on my flip-flops. The plaintiff tried to get on top of me. I grabbed the plaintiff's arms. A woman walks by. He turns his attention to her, and I slip out of the incident. He had my shirt, and he's like saying, it ain't over. It's not over, and all this stuff. And I'm like, at the worst, he's going to want to fight me again. So I headed to the health center.
Okay. You went to the health center to get your hand fixed.
Yes, I did.
You injured your hand, you hit him so hard, right?
It wasn't a calculated punch, but yes, I did injure my hand.
Because you hit him so hard?
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of injuries did you suffer, sir?
Chipped tooth, severely chipped tooth from the blow.
And you? What did you suffer?
A laceration on my left finger, left hand.
You're not even suggesting that I deal with that. You punched him, you want me to suffer?
No, he started the fight. Okay. Injuries aside, he started the fight.
Keep going.
After that, the plaintiff rushes to the office to where I work. I teach water aerobics to the elderly. I'm a weight training instructor.
So he filed a complaint?
He filed a complaint.
Were you arrested?
Yes, I was.
Scobie, what happened with those charges?
Those charges were dropped. I was readmitted to school to get back in. I had numerous teachers write letters of recommendation, which I have here.
Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Rendez?
Yes, I would just like to say, Your Honor, the injury that I suffered from this assault, it really hurt me, Your Honor.
You behaved badly, Mr. Rendez.
I know, I said some bad things, Your Honor.
You behaved badly, Mr. Rendez.
I know.
Sir, you did.
I know, Your Honor. I said some things, but that does not excuse this man's assault on me because I said a few bad words to him. The sweep kick that he claims occurred did not occur. I did not sweep kick the defendant, Your Honor.
How do I know that?
It's written in the police report. Can I please present that?
Sure, show me. I'd like to see that.
That's a copy of the police report. I've highlighted a few things.
Don't highlight, I read. This incident report, Mr. Rendez, absolutely gives your version of the events, and it gives Mr. Scobie's version of the events.
Correct.
How come you didn't highlight, because you highlighted a lot of things, Mr. Rendez, how come you didn't highlight the part of his statement where he says that you swept-kicked him against his leg and he turned around and he hit you?
Because there was no sweep kick, Your Honor.
Just a second, that's what you say. That's what you say. That's why I read the whole thing. According to your statement to the police, there was no sweep kick. According to the defendant's report to the police, there was. But you conveniently neglected to highlight that. How come?
Because
did
that
you think
did
I would
not
read it?
occur. That
No,
sweep
that's what
kick
you
did
say.
not occur, Your Honor.
You behaved badly, Mr. Rendez.
I know I did, and I definitely said some things that weren't right, and I'm sorry to the defendant for that, but I never once swept kicked the defendant, Your Honor.
Mr. Rendez, your case is dismissed. Mr. Scobie, your counterclaim is dismissed. You both behaved badly that day. You, Mr. Rendez, I have a sense, was very, very angry. You'd asked your friend to borrow a cell phone. He said no. You overreacted. You started cursing at him. And the two of you behaved very badly. You, unfortunately, got the worst of the deal. He got a cut hand that required some stitches, and you lost a tooth. That's what happens when two people act like idiots, when two men act like idiots. If he said, no, I'm sorry, you can't borrow the cell phone because it doesn't belong to me, you turn around, you say, thank you very much, and you go find something else to do. You don't start cursing at him because that precipitates an argument. You curse at him, you call his mother names, he curses at you, he called your mother names, and then all of a sudden you get into an incident where everybody's acting a little too hot. You both suffered. Chalk it up to experience. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old homemaker Demesia Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old rapper William Coleman, for giving away her ferret while she was in a women's shelter.
Miss Williams, you want the defendant to pay for your ferret.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you buy the ferret?
I bought it the day after my birthday last year.
Give me the date, please. I don't know when
March
your birthday
14th.
is.
March 14th.
And how did the defendant come into possession of your ferret?
I had some trouble at home, and I had to leave and go to a facility to where I couldn't take him with me, so I asked him to keep him for me.
What date did you go to the facility?
On May 6th.
So you had the ferret for about 6 weeks?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of facility did you go to?
It was a facility for women of domestic violence.
The defendant was your boyfriend?
Correct.
He was the person who was abusing you?
No, ma'am.
And when, for the first time, did you ask for the ferret back?
I asked him for the ferret back in January of this year. Actually, I went to his house, and he wasn't there, but I told his stepfather that I...
So 7 months later, you asked for it back?
Correct.
And did he give it back to you in January of '03?
No, he did not.
When did you ask for it again?
I asked for it again a couple of weeks later, about the first or second week of February.
So a month later?
At the first time I asked for it, it was about the end of January, so it was only a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
Shh, I'm going to get to you in a second. And the end of January, what did he say?
I didn't get a response back from him because, like I said, at the time I was at his house. He wasn't home. I spoke to his stepfather.
Did you look for the ferret?
No, I did not. But
how long did you remain in the shelter?
I was in the shelter for 11 months.
So from May of '02 until
April
of 2003.
Correct.
You were in the shelter, so how could you ask for the ferret back in January if they didn't allow ferrets there?
At the time, they were going to be placing me in my own apartment.
But you didn't go into your own apartment.
Right.
So then you couldn't have the ferret back in January. And you couldn't have the ferret back in February.
Right, and that was at the time that I had asked my boyfriend, Autumn, if he could keep him for me. His sister wanted a ferret, so I was going to let them take care of the ferret.
How much money did you give Mr. Coleman? I gather no longer your boyfriend because you had a new boyfriend.
Right.
How much did you give him to take care of your ferret for the 11 months that he had the ferret?
I didn't give him anything at the time.
Just a second. You didn't give him anything?
Right.
How much money did you give him towards veterinarian bills, if any?
Nothing. But
when did you get a new boyfriend?
In December.
While you were in the shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, are you serious with me, Miss Williams? to the ferret, sir?
Okay, for starters, she only paid for about 2 or 3 bags of food, and the ferret was in my care since June 24th, which she has down here.
Mr. Coleman, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, ma'am.
She says she didn't pay for anything.
Yeah, well...
But so you're being very honest with me, is that right?
Exactly.
You're
That's
just
what
not
I'm
paying
doing.
attention.
Yeah, I'm being honest, but I'm not paying
No, you're
attention.
just not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So why don't you just, instead of doing the drill that you want to drill, why don't you just answer my questions?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to the ferret?
The ferret didn't have any vaccinations that he was supposed to get, therefore he got sick. He didn't get attention that he therefore needed because I was on the road doing shows. I'm a rapper. And she knew this, so that's
You
what
did
happened.
not give me a whole story. Where's the ferret?
The ferret passed away.
When?
March 18th.
Who was watching the ferret?
I did the best I could. My mother's scared of it. My stepfather was gone.
At the time, he told me that his mother gave the ferret away. He didn't tell me that the ferret died.
He wanted to spare you.
And it's like he could have told me that the ferret was not getting the proper care because he did not tell me that he was still going on the road because of different
Madam,
things.
you had this ferret for 6 weeks. You did not develop a loving attachment for it that you couldn't get over. You
I
managed to
spent time
find,
with
listen to
him.
me, you managed to find a new boyfriend in December. And if you were in love with this ferret and wanted all kinds of compensation, then you would have found some way to have the ferret go into his possession. This is the boyfriend in
Right.
December of 02.
Correct.
Rather than waiting until the end of January of 03, the end of January of 03, according to you, not according to him, by the way, to ask for this thing back.
At the time, we were
Courts
still
are very
together.
busy places. We have no time for nonsense. Get a life and get a new ferret. That's all. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Shop owner Michael Shaw and his girlfriend, airline reservationist Katrina Wallace, are in court for the second time. Michael claims a paternity test proves he is not the father of her child. Judge Judy has ordered a second test, and they're ready to hear the results.
This case was adjourned in order to conduct a proper paternity test. Mr. Shaw, you had been paying support for several years based upon what you claim is Ms. Wallace's statement that you were the father of her son. You subsequently determined that that was not true by a test that you took with your son during a period of time when you had him for visitation. I explained to you that that was not the proper way of taking a paternity test, that in order to take a paternity test that courts will find valid, all 3 people should be there at the same time so that you can each look at each other and say, this is Miss Wallace, this is Mr. Shaw, and this is the child. And I understand that you have done that.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have the test results?
Right here.
Thank you, Bird. It's a photograph that the laboratory takes at the time that they take the blood samples. How old is your son?
He's 2.
Big boy. Will you give each of the parties a copy of the test, please? See it?
Yes.
So it is clear, Miss Wallace, it is impossible, based upon the genetics, for Mr. Shaw to be your son's father. You understand that?
Yes.
So the issue presents itself to me as to whether you have to return to him the payments that he's made over the last 2 years.
Yes.
I'll hear you.
From the beginning, I actually thought that Mike was the father of my son, and he was there at the time he was born. He signed his birth certificate, and we had been carrying on as Mike being the father. He's had an active part in his life, and my son only knows him as his father. And it was never my intent to deceive him because I believed it as well.
Okay, Miss Wallace, when you became pregnant, did you tell Mr. Shaw, I'm pregnant?
Yes.
There is a strong probability that you're the father, but I have been intimate with 1 or more people, so it's possible that you're not.
No.
Did you tell him that?
No.
Then you did deceive him, Miss Wallace. The fact that you thought that he was the father is really a statement of you wanted him to be the father. Because if you had had sexual relations with both Mr. Shaw and others during the period of conception, and if you didn't say to him, I think you should take a paternity test because I have been intimate with others, then you did deceive him. No question about that. If she had told you that there was a possibility that you were not the father, but a possibility that you were, you would have taken the test before.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, of course, because you're not crazy. Okay. So this is a good example for you and for anybody else who might be out there listening. And one's belief, one's hope that somebody is the father of the child doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So before you start paying support, you get a paternity test to make sure. For you, there is no issue as to the amount of money that you've contributed. It's at least $5,000 over the last 2 years. But the problem is, this little boy now only knows one person is the father. Now Miss Wallace is going to have to start searching for who this child's father is, and at the age of 2 or 3 or 4, going to have to introduce somebody else. That's the real victim in this case is the child.
I understand.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
And you created the situation. You have to understand that you created it because you weren't honest with him at the beginning. Got it?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Student Brad Schultz is suing his former friend, 18-year-old student Kelly Minks, for spilling beer on his computer during a party in his dorm room.
Mr. Schultz, where do you go to school, sir?
The University of the Pacific.
Where is that?
That's in Stockton, California.
You board there?
Not really. I play baseball for the school's team.
Oh, what year are you in?
I was a freshman. I'm now going to be a sophomore.
Mr. Schultz, do you know what the word board means?
Yes, I do now. Yes, I lived in the dorm rooms
at
University of the Pacific.
Somebody whispered what it means. I wasn't interested in what you play and what sports you play. God, I feel like jaywalking. According to your complaint, the defendant, who was your former roommate's girlfriend, spilled beer all over your laptop. You wanted to replace the laptop computer because it's ruined. She says that it was you or your friends during some sort of drunken party caused the laptop to get ruined. You want to tell me when this happened, Mr. Schultz?
It was April 18th.
Okay. Were you having a party in your room?
Yes, we were.
How many people were in your room?
There was around 11.
Now, what makes you think that Ms. Minks ruined your laptop?
Would you like me to go ahead and tell you the whole story of the night, or?
No, I don't want to have to guess, Mr. Schultz. I just want you to tell me what makes you think that she hurt your laptop.
Well,
I'm not interested in the whole party, sir. A lot of people in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And everybody's drinking.
At the time that
And everybody's drinking.
Not everybody.
Half of the people were drinking.
Sure.
And you're not allowed to drink in the dorm rooms, is that right?
I don't believe so.
is not an answer.
I do not believe so.
Correct. So you were having a party where there was illegal drinking going on in your room. And a whole bunch of people, some of whom were drinking and some of whom were watching. Now, can we get to the proof that you have that Miss Minks caused the damage to your laptop?
Okay. The only two in the room at the time that the computer was found broken were them two.
Okay. And approximately what time was this?
This was 2:30 in the morning.
And what time did the party end?
I left the party, leaving behind them two and some of their friends. I returned that night at 2:30 in the morning and found just them two alone in the room.
Yes.
So I came down, sat down, and used my computer. And they asked me to leave. They said they wanted some privacy, and I said okay, and I left for a half hour. I went right across the hall, and I came back a half hour, and the door was locked. And so I started knocking on the door, telling her that I wanted to come in my room, and they were both saying, no, you're not coming in. Go sleep in the study lounge down the hall. And I wasn't about to go sleep in the study lounge, so I just continued to knock, and finally I started having...
Mr. Schultz, is what you're telling me, sir, that you came in and used your computer at 2:30 in the morning?
Yes, I did.
How come you didn't put that in your complaint, sir?
Excuse me?
How come you didn't write that in your complaint, Mr. Schultz? Miss Minks, did Mr. Schultz come back to the room at 2:30 and sit down and use his computer for a half hour?
Nope. What happened?
Just a sec. Just answer my question. Are you the roommate?
Yes.
Stand up. Name?
Ben Hatch.
Mr. Hatch, did Mr. Schultz come back to the room at 2:30 in the morning and use the computer for a half hour?
Well, the first thing he did, it was already locked, and we were watching a movie. And what he did, he came in, grabbed pistachio nuts, stuffed them down his shirt, and that's all I remember. And then after that, we told him to leave. That's why we wanted him to leave.
You answer my question.
I never saw him touch the computer.
Right, because he didn't come in to use the computer. Sit down.
Your Honor, I have a witness that saw me sit down and use the computer.
Let me see the witness.
Is a statement from him.
I don't take statements from a witness.
Okay, well...
And if you thought it was important enough to get a statement from a witness who saw that, sir, or from a friend of yours, then you would have put it in your complaint. So you didn't sit down and use the computer at 2:30 in the evening. No, I don't believe, Mr. Schultz, that you used the computer at 2:30.
Your Honor,
Let's start with that. I don't believe you used the computer.
I used the computer, Your Honor, and I'm sorry that you don't believe me. I'm under oath here, and I'm telling you the truth.
And I'm telling you, I don't believe you used the computer, Mr. Schultz. I believe you came back and tried to get back into your room, and they wouldn't let you back into the room. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you saying that I would not notice that there was beer poured all over my computer when I returned?
I am saying, sir, that you have no proof that she poured the beer on your computer.
I do have proof that she was the one that, before the beer was poured over the computer, it punched me in the face and was going insane.
Listen to me. You have no proof that she poured beer on your computer. That's what you're suing for. Laptop computer. And you don't have proof that she did it. Sorry, Mr. Schultz. Don't have it. Shouldn't have beer parties in your dorm room. Goodbye.
Why is that excused? Step out, please.
Fleet manager John Berardi is suing his ex-wife, homemaker Lisa Berardi, for an unpaid loan for their son's legal fees. Lisa claims the money was John's idea.
Mr. Berardi, the defendant is your former wife. According to your complaint, you say that she owes you $950 for legal fees that were incurred by your 14-year-old son. 14-year-old son evidently got a hold of a BB gun, and he shot the BB gun while he was in his mother's custody. Was anybody injured?
No.
Some property damage?
A hole in a window.
Okay. He was arrested, and you claim that his mother borrowed the money from you to pay for a lawyer. You want the money back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When were you divorced?
When were we divorced? I don't remember the date.
I asked the question.
I don't
you
remember
don't remember.
the date.
She'll remember. When were you divorced?
89.
What month?
It was during the summertime, about June, July.
I know the hour and the second. In any event, sometime during the summer of 1989. So your son was very young at the time because he's 14 years now. Do you share custody of him?
Yes.
Do either of you pay support?
No.
You each take care of him when you have him?
Yes, ma'am.
So to say, yes.
What do you mean that's so to say? I don't understand that.
Well, he resides with me.
And he was visiting with you? Where'd he get the BB gun from?
A friend of mine. We borrowed the BB guns so we can take them up to Pennsylvania by my brother's house.
Okay. Tell me about the loan, sir.
After I got the letters from the court stating that he had to be defended by an attorney, I called around, and the cheapest attorney I could find was $1,000. Since I was not receiving any child support, it was very difficult for me to have to spend that kind of money. I called his mother, and I told her the only way I could do it is if I took the money from a credit card. She told me that she would pay me the full amount for the attorney. She would give me $50 to $100 a month when she could, and every time I asked, she never seemed to have the money for it. Finally, she told me that she would give it to me from her tax return this year, and when that came in, she had to use it for something else. So, again, I didn't receive any money. I just felt like I was being taken advantage of, so I had to file the claim.
Go ahead.
I don't feel that I owe him.
No, the question is, did he call you and tell you about the attorney?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Well, tell me about your version of your recollection of that conversation.
When he called, he told me that he needed an attorney for my son and that the cheapest was $1,000. I did not have $1,000 or $500 to give him. And I said, let me find out and see if I can do it through legal aid. But because my son resides with his father was held responsible for that. So I said, okay, at least I tried. He asked me, if for me to pay him. And at the time, I winded up getting laid off at my job. I was on unemployment. I was backed up with bills. I could not afford to pay it. I did say to him that when I would get my unemployment, I would, give him some money. When my unemployment came in, it wasn't what I was expecting. So I could not afford, because I've been backed up. I'm backed up with bills. Now I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
I fell and I broke my tailbone and I have 4 herniated and ruptured discs.
You owe him the money, and you're going to pay him the money, and I'm going to tell you why. You're getting a free ride. You haven't paid him child support.
He waived that. I support my child when he's by me.
No. He may not pursue you for child support, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting a freebie, madam.
Yes,
just because you're the mother and he's the father and he happens to have custody of the child. The law is gender blind. We don't see mother, father, we just see 2 parents. And each parent is responsible for the child's support. And you've been getting away with it for a long time. So, I believe that you said to him, when I get my money, I'll help you out as best I can, and he relied on that. And how much was the lawyer, $950?
The lawyer was $1,000.
Well, you're suing for $950 because she gave you $50.
She gave me $50, yes. Right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. Consider yourself lucky. Goodbye. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
25-year-old machinist Rudy Ibarra is suing 19-year-old secretary Amber Swanner for running him over while he was riding his skateboard.
Mr. Ibarra, who is this person?
This is my witness, Sylvia.
Okay. According to your complaint, you were riding a skateboard.
Yes.
And you were going past a driveway.
Yes, a drive-through Taco Bell.
And according to you, the defendant was driving her car, hit you with her car, causing you to fall off your skateboard, and you were injured.
Yes.
You want to be compensated for that,
Yes.
including your medical bills, your lost wages, pain and suffering.
Yes.
Ms. Swanner says that she did not hit you, that you fell off your skateboard in all probability. She is counterclaiming because she said that because of your false complaint, she was arrested for hit and run and spent a few days in jail, and she wants all of her expenses and also to be compensated for what she claims was a false claim by you.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me when this incident took place and what happened based upon what you observed?
It was Valentine's Day. I was skating
That
down
would be February 14th.
February 14th, yes. I was skating down the sidewalk, and I was passing through the drive-through, and I looked back, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a gray car, I don't know, brown or something. It hit the back of my leg, and it knocked me off my skateboard. And when it spun me around, and when I looked around, I was looking right at her, and I said, "You just hit me, lady." And she kind of smirked.
Just a minute, she spun you around.
She hit the back of my leg, it spun me around because I was on my skateboard.
Right.
So it spun me around, and I landed on my butt.
Oh, and you fell. You
Yes.
left out the fall part.
Yes.
Now, when you fell, you looked up and you saw her. What was she doing when you...
She looked and kind of smirked and peeled out of the driveway.
Now, the next thing you're going to tell me is about your injuries. Tell me about your injuries.
She hit my leg, and it gave me a bruise on my leg. I couldn't work for a month.
You have a medical report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I was a machinist at the time.
Were you taken to the emergency room?
No. I refused service from the ambulance because I didn't have insurance at the time, so I went the following morning, or the following day.
And you went home?
Yes.
How did you get home?
I drove myself. I have an automatic truck.
Okay, now I'll hear your version of the events.
On February 14, 2002, I was across the street at the Albertsons, and I noticed the plaintiff skateboarding back and forth from one end of the driveway in Taco Bell to the next end. And I pulled out of Albertsons and I pulled into the Taco Bell parking lot. After I got my food, I went to the end of the driveway, looked both ways, left and right, because the traffic is only coming on toward the right. And so the plaintiff was coming toward the right, or excuse me, he was coming toward the left. Sorry. And he fell right on the right side of the car. I rolled down my window and I asked him, was he okay? He proceeded to flip me off. So I figured, you know, this guy fell. I was trying to help him. I was going to call an ambulance.
He fell?
Yes, ma'am, he fell. So I went back to my house, and 20 minutes later, the sheriff's department knocked on the door. They then arrested me. I waited all day to see the judge. The judge wouldn't see me because the DA threw out the case. They said that there was not enough evidence in order to support his claim.
Were you a witness to these events?
Yes, I was.
Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Sylvia Apodaca.
Ms. Apodaca, do you know the plaintiff from before this incident?
No.
And you don't know the defendant?
No.
But you did observe what happened on February 14th?
Yes, I did.
Well, tell me what you observed.
I was going down the road, my mom was driving, and I'd seen him skateboarding, and I caught him. She was coming down out of the Taco Bell driveway, and him coming down on the skateboard, and she, like, bumped him, and he fell and rolled.
So you actually saw her bump him?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Any question in your mind?
No.
Did you or did you not tell that to the police?
I didn't talk to the police.
After you did as he requested, you went and got her number, her license plate number?
Actually, when she pulled out and left, and we were coming up, I was like, whoa. When I saw it happen, I was like, whoa. And I was like, she's leaving, and she was, like, giggling. I was like,
she was?
Uh-huh. And she had her hand over her mouth, and she was like that. And then we turned around and got her license plate number, and I went in where he was laying down. I asked him if he was okay, and I gave him the license plate number and my telephone number if he needed anything, because I had to go.
That's a different version of the events, madam. So I don't know why the district attorney took the action that they did. Probably they have more important things to do in the jurisdiction where you live. But you are certainly responsible for this incident, and certainly he's not responsible for your false arrest, because you weren't falsely arrested. You left the scene of an accident. My question to you, Mr. Ybarra, is your medical bills are $814.89. Is that right?
Yes.
You have any proof that you were employed at the time and that a doctor told you you had to stay home?
No, I don't.
Well,
I was waiting for a fax from my boss. He was faxing here at...
That's what we deal with here, sir.
Yes.
Proof.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think you were seriously hurt, Mr. Ybarra.
Well, when you're hit, have you ever been on a
Mr.
skateboard?
Ybarra, listen to me very carefully,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
If one is seriously injured, they accept emergency treatment at the scene. They don't get into their truck and drive home and wait until the next day to go to an emergency
but when you're
room.
poor,
Do you
it's
understand?
a different story. Yes,
Do you understand,
ma'am.
Mr.
I understand.
Ybarra? Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Good. However, Mr. Ybarra, you're suing for $2,500.
Yes.
$800, $814 of that is your medical bill.
Yes.
And I don't find your request excessive.
Yes, I
At all.
understand.
So I'm giving you the judgment you request. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
24-year-old legal assistant Long Giong is suing her former friend, landscaper Patrick Wilson, for the cost to paint her car bumper. Lon says the car was egged while in his care.
Ms. Jiang, the defendant is your boyfriend's friend?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he borrowed your car during a week's time that you were going to be out of town, and that while the car was in his possession, it got egged. And because that substance is so caustic, it ate away the paint on the car, and you have to have your car painted.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson does not deny that the car was egged. He does not deny that it was egged while it was in his possession, although you didn't see it happen, right?
Correct.
He says that he parked it in the same place that you parked it at, and that it's not his fault. You should have had insurance to cover it, right?
Yes.
But there's another wrinkle in this case. According to you, he gave you $50.
Yes, Your Honor.
There's your problem, Mr. Wilson. Did you give her $50?
Yes, I did.
So that you gave her $50 to lease her car, to rent her car for the week.
For the use of it, yes.
So I want you to think of Miss Giang as Hertz, budget, dollar. She's a rent-a-car.
Okay.
If I left anybody out. Avis, I mean, I want to be
Dollar.
ecumenical. Dollar, whatever. She is a rent-a-car.
Okay.
Have you ever rented a car?
Yes.
And when you rent a car, you either decline insurance or you pay for insurance.
Yes.
If you pay for insurance, that means pay a little extra. That means anything that happens to the car while it's in your possession is covered.
Right.
If you decline insurance, who's responsible if something happens to that car?
I am.
Right. Now, if you merely borrowed her car, there would have to be a demonstration that something happened to her car as a result of negligence. Your negligence. But you didn't borrow her car. You rented it. You got to pay for the damage. It's your fault.
Okay.
Can I see the damage to the car, please? I'm glad he understood. I'm glad Mr. Wilson understood. Who are you?
I'm Patrick's friend, Tracy. I'm a witness.
A witness to what?
I helped clean the car basically the day we think it happened. I showed up to his house that evening right after he got off of work, just went over there after I got off of work, and he was pretty much in the process of getting ready to go clean the car.
Was it egged on the back of the car? Is that where it was egged?
Yes.
Pretty much on the back?
Yes.
Pretty much just on the bumper, is that right?
I did not see.
Well, it looks to me like the damage is on the bumper.
It's on the bumper.
It's on the bumper. And how much is it going to take to fix this bumper, to repaint the bumper?
I have 2 estimates.
Can I see it, please? Is this a new car?
Yes, ma'am.
Looks pretty new to me. $50 is a good deal. Should have cleaned it really, really thoroughly. Rear bumper, $1,094. Mr. Wilson, it's your nickel, sir.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
Edward and Janelle Jurse and their son, 9-year-old Brian, are suing neighbors Eric and Stephanie Sickelis and their son, 12-year-old Anthony. Brian says Anthony shoved him off his bike, breaking his teeth.
Yeah, this is case number 29 on the calendar in the matter of Jurse versus Sickelis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Brian?
Me.
Who's Anthony?
Me.
Everybody else sit down.
Hey.
How old are you, Brian?
9.
How old are you, Anthony?
12.
Brian, you were riding your bike near Anthony's house, is that right?
Yes.
And something happened and you fell off your bike and you broke your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Just one tooth?
2 teeth.
2 teeth.
Yes.
You want to tell me what happened and how it happened that you fell off your bike?
I was riding my bike up the hill, and then I saw Anthony washing his motorbike. So I said, bet you can't squirt me with the hose, and he ran up and pushed me off my bike.
You saw Anthony, and he was doing a chore, washing his bike. So you said to him, I bet you can't squirt me with that hose? Why did you say that to him?
I don't know.
Well, that was pretty silly, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, what if he started chasing you with the hose? That's what you asked him to do. You bet him, right?
Yes.
Would you have liked that?
No.
So what happened after you said to him, bet you can't squirt me with that hose?
He ran up and pushed me off my bike.
He did? Is that what happened, Anthony?
No.
What happened, Anthony?
Well, after you said that, like, I pretended like I was gonna squirt him with the hose. Like, I pointed at him. And so I started running after him, and then, like...
With the hose or without the hose?
Without the hose, because I dropped it because I couldn't reach him. So, like, when I was running after him, he was, like, trying to avoid it. So he hit the curb, and he flipped.
How far away from you was he when he hit the curb and flipped? Show me someplace in this room.
Well, right there, maybe.
Where? Walk up and point to it.
Right here.
Okay, now step back. So what you're telling me, Anthony, is you never touched his bike?
Nope.
Now, Brian, you were riding away from him?
Yes.
Is that because he was chasing you?
Yes.
So you're looking in the other direction. How do you know he bumped you off your bike? Did you turn around and look to see where he was?
Yes.
And when you turned around and looked to see where he was, what happened?
I saw him push my bike.
No, I don't think you did, Brian. I don't think you saw him push your bike. I think he was chasing you. But I don't think at the very moment that he pushed your bike, you turned around to look at him. You might have turned around and hit a curb and fell. And he was chasing you. And the reason you fell off your bike is because he was chasing you. There's no question about that. But you made up a little bit of fib when you said he pushed you, because I don't believe he pushed you. Understand? Because that was a fib you just told me, that you turned around at the exact moment he pushed your bike and you saw him push it and you fell off. That's a fib. That doesn't mean he might not be responsible, because he was chasing you. And you were trying to get away from him, but you started out by teasing him. Why were you teasing him?
Hmm? I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Here you go. Now, I understand that when... Now I need the two mothers up here, please. Now, I understand that when this happened, Ms. Sicklese, I understand that Anthony or you went and got Brian. Somehow he got to your house.
Well, my older son came in and said that Anthony had the hose and that Brian was taunting the boys. They raced motorcycles, so he was washing his bike. And him and another little boy were taunting the boys.
Just a minute, Brian, were you with somebody else?
Yes.
Who were you with?
Robbie, my friend.
How old is Robbie?
I think 9.
And was Robbie saying anything to Anthony and his brother?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So he had warned them, you know, get off our driveway, and because they live far down the street. And so for them to be, you know, up there, and so Anthony, you know, had warned them.
They're allowed to be up there. They're just, listen, he's a 9-year-old kid. They're playing kids' games. You know, I bet you can't hit me with that bike. I bet you can't squirt me. And then they turn around and they ride away. Right? He decides he's going to try to get him with the hose. Hose doesn't reach. Hose doesn't reach. He starts chasing him. He's turning around, not looking where he's going. He falls off his bike. That's what happened. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out unless you're trying to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
All right. So, but he came to your house.
He split his chin, and he had, his knee was scratched. So I brought him in my house.
You brought Brian into your house.
Right. And I told the other little boy, go get his dad. Now, the other little boy went to go get his dad, not Brian's dad. And so I brought him in the bathroom and put, like...
you took care of him as best you could.
Yes.
Well, who came to finally get him?
I took him home, and then I talked to the father, and the father was very upset, which I understood. I mean, you know, his child was hurt, and he was bending, and I was, you know...
Well, what was he saying to you? Step up.
That
what?
That, you know, that our kids have problems and they have no supervision.
Why were you...
And I was saying sorry.
Just a second. Why were you involved in that kind of conversation with her, sir?
Well, there was some admittance that he was pushed off the bike. And
Just a second. What did Anthony say to you? Did he admitted pushing him off the bike?
Anthony's brother was down there. And I said, where's the father figure? I said, there's nobody watching these kids.
Listen, your son was at their house. What's wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Does your street have two sides to it?
He was riding up on the sidewalk.
He's giving you baloney. Just because he's yours doesn't mean he won't give you baloney.
And later today...
We also have copies of the checks that were written.
To Amy, not to me.
But there's no way that Amy would steal money from my grandmother.
Listen to me, Mr. Hoffman.
You don't know about
You don't know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 9-year-old Brian Jurse says neighbor 12-year-old Anthony Sicklese shoved him off his bike. Anthony claims he never touched him.
Your son was at their house. They didn't come to your house. He was there, and he was teasing them. The lady brought him home to you because you weren't out there supervising him. He's 9. Quiet. He's 9. You weren't out there supervising him. She went in, took care of him, brought him back to you. So, I mean, I read that, and I said, why would a grown man open up a mouth like that to this lady? Any reason?
No,
or you
I
just
saw my
lost your
kid
temper?
I saw my kid covered in blood.
Yeah.
There had been prior instances with Anthony teasing my son, and I just, you know, I made a couple of comments like
Well,
that.
then you were wrong.
Okay.
Because your son started it. You understand that? Okay. So, and if he got hurt, he got hurt. That's all he's got to know. He can't tease people, especially people who are older, people who are bigger. But we're not talking about a 9-year-old and a 25-year-old. We're talking about a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old who are about the same size. Right?
Yes.
So, it happens. That's what happens with boys. So you don't get that kind of upset, sir, especially to somebody who's trying to do the right thing. Now, I don't know anything about these boys. I don't know about their history. I don't know if they're wise, Alex. That may be. He may be a little bit of a Weisenheimer, this one over here. This one.
He's more outgoing than my oldest one.
Oh, well, he was one with a smirk on his face, so I wasn't exactly sure what that
He's
smirk
nervous.
was. Are you nervous? Am I
Yes.
making you nervous?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So he's like, he was.
I thought like you got that from my hair, so I
Well, I thought I could use a little bit of a comb down, but that's, I understand that's the style these days, so I have to go with it. You're not mine. It's fine with me. No, I don't know what you were upset about. So you're upset because you saw your son injured. That doesn't necessarily mean you have the right to take off against the boy's mother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Brian and Robbie were on their way up to Robbie's house. They had to ride their bikes past their house to get to Robbie's house. And in numerous incidents before this incident, these boys had stopped Robbie and Brian, saying they could not pass them on the street to go back and forth between
So
Robbie's
as a
house
result
and
of
my
that,
house.
Brian stopped and said to them, I bet you can't squirt me with the hose. Does your street have two sides to it?
He was on the opposite side of the street.
No, he wasn't.
That's
No,
according
he
to
wasn't.
Brian.
No.
He was not
He
in the
wasn't.
driveway, according to Brian.
No, he wasn't. He was on the drive. He was close to the driveway. He wasn't on the other side of the street.
He was riding up on the
He's
sidewalk.
giving you baloney. Just because he's yours doesn't mean he won't give you baloney.
I had another instance with Anthony.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in this one. And in this one, he started it. He finished it. She's not responsible. They started it. And I don't believe that he pushed the bike. I believe that he chased him and he fell off the bike. I don't believe he pushed him off the bike. You're not that evil, are you? Try to be nice to each other. That's what the world's all about. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Real estate broker June Dolan is suing her brother, cook Paul Hughes, for the cost of a defense attorney to keep him out of jail. Paul says his ex-girlfriend was the person who borrowed the money.
Yeah, and this is case number 122 on the calendar in the matter of Dolan versus Hughes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you,
and have a
Bert.
seat. You're welcome.
Miss Dolan, Mr. Hughes is your brother.
Yes.
And I gather from your complaint that you've bailed him out of jail a couple of times.
Yes.
First time you bailed him out of jail was in a dispute involving a girlfriend or something, and you're not asking for reimbursement of that. Second time you bailed him out of jail, you claim it cost you $5,000. You want the money back.
It was actually $5,208.
Well, our limit is $5,000.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes said it was very nice of you to bail him out of jail. He never asked you to do it. A loan was never created. Someone else asked you. Someone by the name of Nancy, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's not you, is it?
Yes.
Oh, Nancy. So, Ms. Dolan, tell me about the second time you bailed him out of jail.
Okay.
When was it?
It actually wasn't bailing him out of jail. It was paying for a defense attorney for him.
Was he in jail at the time?
No. He was supposed to be in jail, but he took off from Minnesota and came to California.
So he was out on a fugitive warrant?
Yes.
Was he staying with you?
He showed up at my door, yes.
So tell me about the $5,200 and some odd dollars.
So he had this other attorney that was supposed to be a really, really good attorney because he kind of got the shaft on the first attorney. And the attorney said, well, you didn't deserve all the punishment that you got. He had 3 days left of a 3-year probation. So, and anger management class and all kinds of stuff. So the sentence that he got was horrible. He got another 18 months anger management. He got 3 more years of probation. He got...
Because he did what?
He had alcohol in his system. It was his birthday, and he went out and he had beer, and they were pulled over, and that was a violation of probation. So the judge gave... the judge just like dumped on him and gave him this whole...
Sounds perfect to me.
Big, long...
These are the rules.
Right.
You break the rules, there's a consequence.
So the
they
second
didn't put
attorney...
him on a rack, did they?
Did they what?
Put him on a rack? They didn't put him on a rack.
No.
Go ahead.
So the second attorney said, I know the judge, and I will go and I will talk to the judge for you, but it's going to cost you $5,000. I had already paid for the first one, $3,000. I paid for the home monitoring system. I paid $1,200 and collect phone calls from jail.
Okay, I got, you've been a good sister so far.
So the $5,000, he decides that he's in love with Nancy, who is my best friend of the last 25 years, actually, and he works for her. Her folks own a marina in Lake Minnetonka, and he is the chef there. So,
Nancy called you.
No. Well, we talk every day on the phone. We all talk every day on the phone.
I understand that. Nancy called you and asked you for the money. That's what you said.
Well,
don't play, Miss Dallin. That's
Nancy
what you say.
Guaranteed the money. She
No,
she would take it out of.
Listen to me. According to your complaint, you had a conversation with Nancy. You want me to read it to you?
Okay. I had several conversations with Nancy.
I don't care what your
Nancy
conversations were,
encouraged
but
it,
there's
and
several
Nancy
conversations where
guaranteed it.
only one of us can talk at one time. In October 2002, Nancy called and asked that I pay for yet another attorney. Nancy was so distraught, begged and pleaded. So you had a conversation with Nancy about the money.
And I told Nancy, no. No, 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 no.
Go ahead.
Nancy said, I will garnish his wages and make payments. And they did. They made 2 payments on this credit card.
Just a second. So Nancy said, he works for me. I'll put a garnish on his wages.
Yes.
So she
guaranteed the money.
Go
It's
ahead.
almost like
I know
she
what a
co-signed.
garnish. No, I know what a garnishment is. She didn't guarantee the money. She said, as long as he's working here for me, I will garnish
didn't
his
say that.
salary so that you'll get the money. Guaranteeing the money is different. Guaranteeing the money is if he doesn't pay you back, I will.
And then she said, when I sell my house, I will give him the money to pay you off, and then he can make payments to me. That's, to me, sound like a guarantee.
Well, that's different from what you just told me, except she has to sell her house first.
She did sell her house.
Okay.
And I still don't have any money.
So why are you suing your brother?
Because he's the one that borrowed it from me.
So far, I don't have that. So far, I have she borrowed it from you.
She didn't borrow it from me. She encouraged it.
Miss Dallin, you got it all wrong. Madam.
She has, they're multimillionaires. The family is multimillionaires.
Miss
They could have wrote a
Dallin, I
check
want
for
you to
it.
pay attention to me. I understand that what you did was you advanced this money. What you are suing for in court is an oral contract. Your oral contract was with Nancy. She may not have benefited from the contract because he was the one who was in trouble. She may have benefited from it. Let's say she benefited from it because he was a valued employee for whatever reason. And she wanted to ensure that he was going to stay on the job, so she guaranteed the return of your money, even though it wasn't for her immediate benefit. That
she wanted
creates,
to marry him.
Listen to me. That creates a contract. His defense to this is, sure, my sister gave me the money for the attorney, but I never agreed to pay her back.
Yes, he did.
She agreed to pay her back.
He's the one that said he would pay me back.
Well, you
He
never
would make
told me
monthly
that, Miss
payments
Dallin.
on it.
No, you never told me that, Miss Dallin. You told me your contract was with Nancy. Now I'll hear you further. You explain to me your contract with your brother.
My
But
contract-
make sure it's true, because I've already heard the first part of it. So far, I haven't heard anything about your brother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He made 2 payments on it. That shows faith.
That shows nothing, madam. You gotta sue her, not him.
And later today,
He didn't have my permission to take our daughter over Thanksgiving.
You got drunk and shot a gun off in the house, madam. You didn't flee the house with the clothes on your back. You were stealing your daughter.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. June Dolan says her brother, Paul Hughes, owes for the cost of an attorney. Paul says it was his ex-girlfriend who borrowed the money.
Go ahead.
He needed the money because he was on the run and he wanted to go back to Minnesota to be with her. They've had this love affair for 25 years on and off.
Yes.
So he said, I need $5,000. So he had gone out. He knew the attorney. He was going to try to make payments to him. He was going to do whatever he could do to pay off this money. So he asked me for the money. And I said, I don't have $5,000. I'm still making payments on the first
Fine, so you
money.
said no.
So I said, absolutely not. No. So he called, and he called, and he called, and he called back to her, and they sat and tried to work something out to get this money. Finally, he's not going anywhere when he's staying at my house. He's got a sentence hanging over his head. He's running from the law. So Nancy said, come back here and work at the Caribbean. I will garnish your wages, and we'll make the payments to you. So I said...
Your contract is with her, not with him.
But he's the one that said, will you loan me the money? I finally said, okay.
No. Listen to me. That's not what happened, Ms. Dallin. What happened was he asked to borrow the money, and you said no. And he asked you again, and you said, no, I'm still paying off the other money. Then your best friend called you, who you know has money, and said, in effect, he's going to come back, he's going to work for me in the restaurant, I'm going to garnish his salary, so you're assured of getting your money.
She guaranteed it.
Then you got to sue her, not him. You have no contract. You have no legally binding contract with your brother. Now, I'm not going into whether or not you have a legally binding contract with Nancy. You may. You may. I don't have to go into that now. She's not a party. You don't have a legally binding contract with your brother because he asked to borrow the money and you said no.
Well, I said no several times. I said no on the first one, and I finally gave in to him.
No, you gave in to her. You rejected his request until she convinced you that she would be good for the money. Then you said okay.
She never said she'd be good for the money. She said she'd take it out of his paycheck and pay it. And he made 2 payments on it. That shows faith.
That shows nothing, madam. You're suing the wrong person. You do not have a legally binding contract with your brother. You rejected his request for the money until she, your friend of 25 years, said to you, I will, in effect, get the money back to you. If it's not through him working at the restaurant, it's when I sell my house and I'm going to give him the money. But your contract was not with him. So you've got the wrong party over there. Try her. That's all. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She actually had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
I didn't ask her for the money.
Hopefully we can all go out and have lunch or something and talk about it.
I'm not paying the money, so.
Barbershop owner Michael Shaw is suing his ex-girlfriend, airline reservationist Katrina Wallace, for the return of his child support payments. Michael claims Katrina lied about the paternity of her child.
This is case number 37 on the calendar in the matter of Shaw versus Wallace. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Shaw, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you to the tune of many thousands of dollars because she told you that you were the biological father of her child, and for a substantial period of time you paid her child support, and then at some point you decided to verify that claim. You had a paternity test done, and it turns out that you are not the child's biological father, and you want the support payments back.
Correct.
When did you begin dating Miss Wallace?
I met Miss Wallace approximately May of '99.
And how long did you date her?
5 to 6 months. About the 3rd or 4th month, she told me that she missed her cycle and that she was pregnant with my child.
What did you say to her?
I was a little, surprised, but I knew that, we'd had sex, unprotected sex, and I knew it was possible.
Why did you do that? I'm going to ask her the same question.
That's something that I do occasionally.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children, 3 girls.
How old are they?
They are 26, my daughter here. I have a 19-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Quite a lapse there between judgments.
Yes, that's why I was kind of excited about, I wasn't disappointed about the fact that she was pregnant because it had been like 15, 16 years since I had a child, so I wasn't totally against the idea.
Oh, how old is your child?
My child is 2 also.
2 also?
Yes.
So you were having sex with several women at the same time?
No, Your Honor, that's not the way it occurred.
How many?
I was only having sex with her at the time.
Well, you have another child who's 2.
Well, there's about 6, 7 months difference in ages. The way it happened was Katrina started having problems shortly after she became pregnant. And approximately when she was 2 to 3 months pregnant, I knew that there wasn't going to be a relationship between the 2 of us. So I told her, I said, look, this is not going to work between us. I'm basically moving on. The only thing I can do at this point is help you support my child. And I moved on to a new relationship.
Didn't you ever question the fact that maybe this wasn't your child?
A little.
What do you
not
mean
much.
a little?
I kind of jokingly said to her, was she sure that, that I was the father?
Do you have other children?
Yes.
How many children?
A 19-year-old and my 2-year-old.
Go ahead.
She got very upset when I questioned her and almost belligerent. And so I kind of backed off the notion that, she was telling the truth, that it was my child. So,
had you ever been to court at any other time, Mr. Shaw, with regard to issues of paternity, custody, visitation with any of your other children?
Yes, once.
So you know how to get to court?
Yes.
Okay. At what point, sir, did you decide to question the paternity of this child?
Well, several months after Malik was born, seemingly Katrina would interfere with the two of us trying to bond. She didn't support me as a father. She didn't support us spending time together. I would try to take him out of town with me like I would do with my younger child, and she would tell him, no, he can't go. Or I would try to keep him for several days, and most of the time she would say no. On one instance, approximately 6 to 8 months ago.
So why didn't you go to court, Mr. Shaw?
Well, it wasn't that she wouldn't let me see him at all. It's the fact that she wouldn't, if I asked for permission to take him out of town.
You're not supposed to ask her for permission. If you want to spend quality time with the child, then you go to court. Was there some other reason why you didn't want to take this matter through the courts? Did it have to do with money?
I don't think so, no.
You have a business?
Yes, I do.
What kind of business do you have?
I own several barbershops in the Atlanta area.
And how much support were you giving Miss Wallace?
I started off at $300 a month, and mind you that I had 2 other children that I was paying the same amount of support to, and I raised it at approximately $50 every 6 to 8 months or so, equally.
So how much money did you give her in total?
In total, I gave her approximately $9,000.
Is that about right?
Yes, that's about right.
Okay. According to you, you took the child for a paternity test. Do you have those test results?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them. Tell me about what happened when you took Malik for a blood test. Tell me about it.
I began to have little suspicions, but basically I just thought it was just me. But I was having doubts for a good period of time.
Tell me about the procedure that you used, sir. You took him on a period of visitation. You took him to a laboratory. Tell me about that. I want to know the procedure that you used.
Well, one day I asked if I could pick him up and spend some time with him. I went over, picked him up, and took him straight to the lab, and we did a paternity test, and I returned.
Which lab?
Any lab.
What?
Any lab. That's the name of the lab. It's located in Atlanta. It was the only place that I could find where I could actually do a paternity test and get the results back within a reasonable amount of time.
What was the reasonable amount of time?
This took approximately 3 weeks.
Miss Wallace, is it possible that Mr. Shaw is not Malik's father?
Yes.
So you were, in fact, having sexual relations with more than one person at the time that Malik was conceived. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. There was someone else, and I did use protection.
Are you confident that Mr. Shaw is Malik's father?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I turned around, boom, that's when the assault began. Everything went flying.
He comes with a flurry of punches. It's gonna get worse, you know, I'm not gonna just sit here and let you throw punches at me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Shaw says ex-girlfriend Katrina Wallace lied to him about the paternity of her child. He is suing for the return of child support.
Mr. Shaw, the way to conduct a paternity test, sir, is for all parties, including the child, to be present at the same time. You understand that?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, I'm going to tell you. The way you conduct a paternity test is mother, alleged father, and the child go for testing at the same time so that you can identify him. Yes. She says, yes, that is Mr. Shaw, and that is my child. Do you understand?
I understand.
So we are going to adjourn this case. And you're going to go and schedule a paternity test, a DNA test, with the two of you and the child present at the same time. Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll all come back here when I get the results. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
7-year-old Tiffany Schmidt and her brother, 23-year-old Travis, are suing 28-year-old club owner Eric Rabinowitz for breaching their contract by shutting down their rave. Eric is countersuing for attorney fees.
Now, this is case number 93 on the calendar in the matter of Schmidt versus Rabinowitz.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Who's Schmidt?
Yeah.
How are you related?
He's my brother.
According to what I read, Mr. Rabinowitz has a club. And you and your brother were young entrepreneurs. You were going into business, or you were in business together. You arranged for dances or get-togethers. You would rent out a club or a part of a club. You would charge an entrance fee. You would supply a DJ. Everybody would dance, have a good time. You would get a split, and you both made a little money. So you're like promoters, right?
Yes.
So you decided to engage Mr. Rabinowitz's club for an event. You paid a fee of how much?
$400 down, 25%.
So what?
$400 down and 25% of door sales.
So far, is that correct, Mr. Rabinowitz?
Yes.
And when was this event supposed to take place?
On December 28th.
And according to you, Mr. Rabinowitz closed the club during your event, causing you to lose a whole bunch of money. And you should have made thousands, and you only made how much?
He gave us $150 at the end of the night, and we also made the money off our pre-sale tickets.
Which was how much?
Somewhere around $450.
How much, Mr. Rabinowitz?
There was 122 people through the door. They paid $12 a piece. Whatever the math work is there, somewhere around $1,400. Like she said, most of the money was pre-sold. Most of the tickets were pre-sold. I think there was only about 30 people that paid at the door cash. She had sold tickets, hard tickets, to her customers. She also claimed that there would be hundreds of people at the show.
She said, it's not your turn to speak yet. All I want to know is how much money you made, Miss Schmidt, that night.
That evening, we got $150 in cash from Eric.
I didn't ask you how much you got from Eric. I asked you how much you made.
$450 plus the $150, so around $600.
So you didn't lose any money?
No, we did lose the money. We lose the money that he kept.
Ms. Schmidt, you paid him $400 to rent the room. You ended up at the end of the day making more than $400. Is that right?
Okay. Yes.
Then you didn't lose any money. What you're claiming is because he closed the club early, we'll get to the reason in a moment, you could have made a lot more.
Okay.
Now, do we understand each other?
That's correct.
The thrust of the complaint is, other than the other stuff that you complain about, that he had people at the door, that he was watching who was coming into the place and he was collecting money rather than you collecting the money. I mean, you have all that as a complaint. The reason that Mr. Rabinowitz shut down your club was what?
There were several reasons why I shut the
Look at me. Don't look at your paper.
Okay, sorry. There were several reasons why I shut the club down early. But the main gist of it was that her employees and staff were caught using drugs by the head of tobacco and liquor of Fort Collins, Colorado.
So the police came.
The police came, and then these people proceeded to be extraordinarily rude to the police and to me and my staff.
The police came?
Absolutely. Several times.
Why?
Because...
Is that usual? Look at me. Is that usual when you run an event?
No.
Was it the event particularly loud?
No.
Then why would they come?
I think it was twofold. One was, it was a rave, and there's a certain...
What's a rave? I don't know what a rave is.
I think Tiffany would be better at answering that question than I do, since, you know, she's the rave master. I'm just a...
What's a rave, please?
Actually, a rave is an all-night event, pretty much, where DJs come in and play different types of house and trance music, and kids dance to it.
The police came because this was scheduled to be an all-night event.
Not all night, but till 3:30, yes.
Well, that's pretty late.
That's
to
pretty late.
me, that's...
Depends what city you're in, but this particular music, I agree with you fully.
Any music. You got to do a lot more than dance and play
When
an
you're a
instrument
club
to keep
owner,
me up
you
till
want money,
3:30
you
in
want
the morning.
people in there drinking, you know?
Don't talk over me. It's irritating, and I'm old. Do you know the people who were caught using marijuana?
I don't personally, but I know their names, and I know they're
You
part
know
of
their
staff.
names?
Yes, absolutely.
Were they caught inside or outside the club?
They were caught directly outside my office. Outside, but on my property.
I want you to write their names down on a piece of paper.
It's written right here on the contract.
Can I have
I just threw it on there.
Well, check them off. Are there a lot more people's names on there? Or
No, just the two.
Okay. Would you please show the plaintiffs this and ask them if these two people were in any way connected with their organization in either promoting or playing that evening?
They're the light techs.
Shh.
Was one of the people we hired to come in and do our visuals, and was his girlfriend.
So they were, in fact, related
Yes.
to you. And at what time were these two people arrested?
I'd say right around midnight.
Is that correct, Ms. Schmidt?
There were no arrests. They were ticketed.
What time were they ticketed?
It was at 11:47.
And what time did Mr. Rabinowitz close the club?
About just a few minutes after midnight.
So about the same time.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You said there were a lot of people there that were under 21.
Yes.
So they couldn't drink.
That's right.
But they could use drugs.
No.
But
We
they did
searched
use
people
drugs.
at the doors.
They did use drugs.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tiffany Schmidt and her brother Travis say club owner Eric Rabinowitz breached their contract when he shut down their rave. Eric says the siblings' employees were doing drugs.
Didn't you know that if any of your employees or your contractors used drugs on or around the premises, that he had the ability to shut you down?
Well, he never gave us a chance to mitigate the damages for the first part.
Just a second, explain that to me, Ms. Schmidt.
Well, basically, we were under the them using drugs had nothing to do with us. We did not know that they had them.
It was your responsibility.
It was our responsibility. They were outside. We can't watch them.
My dear, I want you to explain to me. I know you have a word that you just used, mitigating damages.
Yes.
I don't think you know what that means.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Well, explain to me your understanding of what mitigating damages means.
Well, he could have given us the opportunity to send those people home and gone without them, because we would have been just fine without them.
That's not mitigating damages, madam. Mitigating damages is a legal term of art. That means that, for instance, if you rent an apartment with 2 roommates and one of the roommates takes off, you may be under an obligation to try to find another roommate to mitigate the damage that the other roommate has caused. Or if you rent a place, like you rented his establishment, and you cancel it a month before, he may have an obligation to try to rent it again to mitigate the damages that your cancellation cost. But once people are found in possession of drugs on his premises, there is no way that you can mitigate those damages.
Well, they weren't.
Because it is an indication that you have no control over your employees. And once you have no control, Ms. Schmidt, over your employees, Mr. Rabinowitz over here, who runs a business, could lose his license long-term because you were unable to control your employees. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
Can I please say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, the police did tell Eric that because of this, they were not arrested. They were ticketed.
Don't give me any hearsay.
Well,
I'm not interested. You want to have a witness?
On evidence for it.
Well, I'd like to. You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the police report. X and Y were contacted after officers witnessed them preparing to smoke marijuana. Paraphernalia and marijuana were confiscated. Both subjects were issued summonses. It says that the police contacted the owner of the Starlight, Mr. Rabinowitz, and advised him that at least 2 persons who had been inside his establishment and were with the promoters were contacted and charged with possession of marijuana. After hearing that information, Rabinowitz chose to ask the persons to leave the Starlight and ask the show to end. And he's absolutely right. Why should he risk them coming back and finding more people inside with drugs? What?
They searched multiple people inside the venue and they didn't find any drugs or paraphernalia.
Let me tell you something, sir. All they had to find was another handful. 1 or 2. And they can destroy his business. You have no right to let that happen. What are you complaining about? He's got a business to protect.
Our complaint, Your Honor, is that he was going to shut us down before this incident even happened.
Well,
he broke
do you
the
think that there was a...
contract in
Listen,
several
let me ask you
ways.
this question. What possibly could be his motive for doing that?
In my personal opinion, I would say his motive was that the evening was a 16 and up show. His bar sales were not high because of the fact that most people were under 21, and he wanted to close it down because he wasn't getting the amount of money that he had expected.
That was promised. I was promised a certain amount of people by the promoter, and they didn't show up, so she's basically putting it on me for being a poor promoter and a poor worker and entrepreneur. You know, I put shows on all the time, 7 a week, and I have 100 people in my club every Saturday night, and there was about 122 people on that night. I mean, all I have to do is open the doors for 100 people to show up, so obviously...
So what's the drinking age at your...
21.
21.
Oh, yeah.
And you said there were a lot of people there that were under 21.
Yes.
So they couldn't drink.
That's right.
But they could use drugs.
No.
But
We
they did
searched
use
people
drugs.
at the doors.
They did use drugs.
She did.
You want to be promoters? You got to be careful that your people who are employed by you, people who are around underage people, don't have drugs, whether it be marijuana or ecstasy or pills or Quaaludes or anything else, because if you do, the possibility exists that you're going to lose money. So you have no case, Ms. Schmidt, nor Mr. Schmidt. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, just a second. I have a countersuit. Are you serious about your countersuit, or you want to say goodbye, countersuit?
I would love to just get that out of here.
Perfect. Thank you.
He came up, they said, everything's fine, the club looks great, you guys are doing wonderful, and about 2 minutes later he would come up freaking out about something.
I tried to pull him off.
Yeah, if anyone was on drugs, it was him.
Well, he did disappear a few times and come back very irritated. But I tried to pull him off the side and explain that they did have a contract with Planet Fleur, which is peace, love, unity, and respect, and that he needed to follow his contract. And he basically said the contract doesn't mean anything. No, he did say the contract didn't mean anything to him anymore. If it didn't go his way, he was going to close him down.
22-year-old receptionist Tyada Jordan is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old realtor Freddie Hill, for filing false charges with the police. Freddie is countersuing for damage to a hotel room and defamation of character.
All rise. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Jordan versus Hill. Parties have been sworn in. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Jordan, Mr. Hill is a former boyfriend of yours and the father of your child.
Right.
You want him to pay you damages because you claim that he filed a false application for a protective order against you.
Right.
Because of that, you suffered certain legal costs, you lost time from work, and you suffered as a result of emotional damage.
Right.
Mr. Hill says everything he said in that application for an order of protection or protective order was true, and he is counterclaiming because he says that you damaged some property in a hotel room when you had a hissy fit about something. He had to pay for it. And then he says that you made some false statements about him when you applied to the court for child support, and he wants to be compensated for that. Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So it's clear that you filed a petition for a protective order against the plaintiff. Do you want to tell me when you filed that and why?
I filed a petition December 9th. The reason why was on December 3rd, I came home to my house after work.
Were you living with the plaintiff at the time?
We stayed together, not officially living together. She stayed there maybe like 4 to 5 days out the week.
With your son?
Yes, with my son.
Just the three of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you came home on December 3rd and?
Prior to that same day when I was at work, we had had a confrontation over the telephone.
About what?
That was the day I told her I was getting ready to go see the people as far as the district attorney, child support people.
What do you mean you were going to see the people about
Well,
child support?
prior to that, I had been served with papers to go, a lawsuit she filed against me.
For?
And I had to, for child support.
When did you file a petition for child support against him?
I can't remember the exact day, but it was early 2002.
Why did you do that?
We had separated, and during our relationship, he never really helped me out with anything.
So you went to court at a time when you were not together, or you were together?
We were separated. I went down, picked up a packet, filled it out, turned it in. That basically started the process for
child support. And then you sort of got back together again?
We got back together.
And you didn't go to court to let them know that you were back together?
No, we didn't.
No, you didn't?
I did, no.
Not he.
Your Honor, can I say something? She made a false statement to you about a minute ago, and I just want to verify that. She had stated that I never supported her with my child. I financially supported her. I have proof right here. each and every month since my child was 6 weeks old. He was in a hospital. I have the backs to every check that I've given to her, already made false statements.
How old is your son?
My son is exactly 1 year, 2.5 months right now.
Looks like he gives you money pretty regularly. Who's Larry? Rent, $600.
Oh, that's my landlord.
Well, that's not money for her.
I'm sorry, that's a separate one that came with it.
Don't try to slip anything in on me. I'm too sharp.
Sorry, Your Honor.
There we go. All right, so he gave you money every month, even though he was not under a court obligation to do that.
Right.
Right, okay. So you had an argument with her on December 3rd. What happened when you got home on December 3rd?
When I got home on December 3rd, I opened the door, walked in my house, Your Honor, took 3 steps. I seen my house destroyed, but as far as I had a briefcase with a lot of paperwork in it because I'm a realtor. My briefcase, all the papers taken out, ripped up.
Did you do
all
that?
over the
He's
floor.
lying.
Just a minute. Did you do that?
No.
Sure you did.
No, I didn't.
Well, did you
No,
make
I
a mess
didn't.
in the house?
No, I didn't.
You didn't do anything?
I didn't. Your Honor, my mom was there. She was there. She's a witness.
Miss Jordan. Miss Jordan. Your defense is not that you didn't do it, because I read your papers very clearly. Your defense is that you couldn't have broken into your own house because you lived there.
Right.
Your defense is not that you didn't make a mess in the house and throw around his stuff.
Okay.
Okay, what?
He made a lot of false allegations stating that I did this.
Did you call the police?
And then next day, around 1 p.m., I called the police because I needed them to escort me into my own house because she had, that day, December 3rd, 7 p.m., took the spare key of my house. It's on top of my panel on the outside of my door.
Let me see the
and
police
this
report,
is,
please.
Okay.
That's a lie. Sorry. He's lying.
They didn't make a police report because there's no crime on the scene, but that shows I called the police.
No, I just want to see, sir, whether somebody other than you is going to describe this scene to me in the house. And the police, you say,
The
did
police
not.
was there. Also, the next day, Your Honor, my landlord went up there with me because I called from his business across the street. Your Honor, I told him about the damage. And then the next day, when he went with me, on top of that, and the police, he seen the damage to the furniture. I got a table leg that was broken. And also, as I walked in the room, dresser drawers was crushed because they was made out of wood, Your Honor.
Okay. When you made an application for a protective order, I'd like to see the application that you made for a protective order against her. Do you have it?
I have it, yes.
I'd like to see it, please. This application for a protective order says that on July 21st, you hit him for the first time.
Lie. It's not true.
Well, no. At the time, she punched me in the face with a closed fist. I called the police. Around August or September, defendant threw a Bible at me and hit me in the face. On December 3rd, we got into an argument over the telephone while I was at work. When I arrived home, later on, the defendant, our son, and the defendant's mother were present in my home. The defendant had stolen my spare key to my house to let herself in. Well, that's not true. Is that right?
Thank you.
That's true, Your Honor.
Well,
It's
didn't she
not
have
true.
a key to the house, sir? She was living with you. You said 4 to 5 days.
We didn't establish.
Put
We
your hand down.
established.
Put your hand down, unless you're going to tell me the whole truth, not just half.
I'm going to tell you the whole truth.
Fine, stand up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've been through too much drama with him and his sister over there.
First, I want to know who you are.
I'm Princess. I'm his sister, as she said.
What does that mean, sister like this? What does that mean?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tiada Jordan says the father of her child, Freddie Hill, filed false charges with police. Tiada claims it was an attempt to get out of going to family court.
Your mother?
I'm Tayada's mother. My name is Brenda Jordan.
Shh. Just you answer my questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Just you answer my questions.
Okay.
Did your daughter destroy any property in the house?
No, she did not.
Did she throw any of his clothes around the
No,
house?
she did not.
Did she empty out his briefcase?
No, she did not.
She didn't do anything?
She didn't do none of that.
I don't believe you. Sit down.
But it's not true.
How's
It's
that?
true.
Don't believe it.
Okay.
Don't
that's
believe
fine.
it.
That's fine.
If you were to tell me certain things that were truthful, and she may have gotten angry, maybe with just cause she got
I didn't
angry.
have anything to get angry over.
Oh, no?
No.
You mean he just made this all up and called the police for no reason?
That's a lie. It's all a lie.
Now, just a minute. Why if?
I can tell you why.
Explain to me.
I can explain.
I'm ready
it
to hear you.
Okay. He was upset that I filed for the child support.
No, he knew about that in November.
Right, but this is where we moved together. He didn't explain that. Myself and my son, we moved in November 11th. We all went to Knoxbury Farm for a trip. After that, everything was going okay. We had our, disagreements.
Everything was going okay. It wasn't going okay if you had disagreements.
But every relationship has disagreements.
Not in the first couple of weeks, madam. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so he got served at his mom's house with the paperwork for child support. He asked me about it. I said, yeah, you knew about it. Why are you upset? And he said, well, I thought you weren't going to go through with it because you wanted to be with me. And he told me that he would ruin my life because I filed and I will not drop the case. He said, if you do not drop this case, you get out my house, we can't be together. And then that's when I moved out. My mom came, my dad came. They gathered my things together. They helped me move. I gave my mom the key that he had given me and told her keep it so he can pick it up from you so we won't have any contact between this time because I didn't want any drama. I've been through too much drama with him and his sister over there. So we have a child together. Of course, we have to have...
If you were living together, why would you want to go to court and sue him for child support?
This was filed a long time ago.
I understand that, but then he said to you, would you go down to the court with me? And you said...
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. He said, I want you to drop the case, and there's other ways around this. We can do it and come up with an agreement. I'll pay you this certain amount, and then we can go take it to a judge. And I said, fine. Explain to me how do we do it. Don't talk about it. Let's step up and do it. He never did it. We never did it. I kept asking him, if you want me to drop the case, tell me what do I have to do, because I didn't know what I had to do. And he saw my things packed. He said, what is this? And I said, I'm leaving. You told me I had to leave if I kept this case open. So I'm packing my stuff and I'm gone.
Your Honor, she mentioned a few false statements. First of all, she said we took a trip November 11th. How did we take a trip November 11th, in which we did, but she moved in at the same time on the same day? We went to Knoxbury Farm.
That night.
She moved in, 10 o'clock at night?
Listen to me. Don't talk to her. Talk to me. Go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor.
What else?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Come on.
But, okay, Your Honor. The plans was from November 11th for us to get together and eventually have plans on moving together by December 1st, okay?
That's not true.
Yeah, just a second.
The reason
Now you're fudging it, sir. Listen to me.
That's not true.
Now you're fudging it. Now you're fudging it.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to explain, Your Honor.
You both... First, I want to know who you are.
I'm Princess. I'm his sister, as she said.
What does that mean, sister like this? What does that mean?
Not real.
In other words, I'm not his blood sister. We grew up from children all the way.
Then you're not his sister. You're a friend. No, you're not. Are you related to him by blood? Pay attention.
I'm his god sister.
Answer my question. Are you related to him by blood?
No, we're not related by blood, but we grew up as brother and sister.
I'm speaking.
I was answering the question.
No. That requires a yes or a no. Related by blood requires yes or no. Are you related by blood?
No.
Were either of you adopted? Were either of you adopted?
No.
Well, if you're not his adoptive sister and you're not his blood sister, then you're not his sister. Then you're a friend. Okay, I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. Look, I believe certain things, Miss Jordan. I believe that you probably made a mess in the house. And not only did you make a mess in the house, but I believe that you probably had a tempestuous relationship up until that time.
I didn't make a mess.
I believe you made a mess. I'm denying your application for money based upon his false statements to the police. It's denied. I'm going to get to your application, sir. You say that she made false statements when she went to apply for child support. I'm not interested in the hotel damage, except as it regards her temper. So what I want you to tell me first is, when did you get the papers from child support?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No. So far, her claim is dismissed, and you're ahead of the game. Now I want to see what you have to show me about your countersuit.
Your Honor, I got to back up just a little bit.
I have extra evidence, too.
Did you hear what I said?
This was the case where I went to go I put in for a restraining order against her. It wasn't for child support, Your Honor.
Excuse me.
It was the papers from
Maybe I'm crazy. I am suing Tayada for $500 for defamation of character. I was hurt to find out when I went to court that Tayana lied and said that I was a drunk and never saw my son as a way to put me in a bad light. At the time, Tayana was staying with me almost every night, so I saw my son almost every day.
Yes, this is from the court where I went to go get the restraining order, Your Honor. She stated things here about me.
So it had
slandering my
nothing to do
parents.
with the child support?
No.
Oh, fine. Let me see.
She called my parents drug addicts, Your Honor, drug history.
Just a second. Listen,
and we
this
have
is
a
what they
licensed
told me.
daycare.
Listen
This is
to
what
me
they
carefully.
told me.
I want you to be quiet.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She, I am sure, told some of these things to her attorney, sir, who filed this case. Pay careful attention. I am the attorney of record. Respondent requests full and physical custody of the child. Respondent objects to visitation by the petitioner. Okay? So this is his affidavit. Now, there's no question that he got his information from her. There's no question about that. But this is his affidavit. I want you to understand that.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. So you both told things, some of which were untrue or a little bit padded. That be a fair statement?
I don't understand.
Well, did you and your son drive in a car with him?
We have before. Not my son, not much. I have. Every time that our son was in the car, I drove.
No, that's not what you just said. You just said not much.
Are
you telling me?
He wouldn't let him drive in the car because he had an old raggedy car, and he said he didn't trust it with him. So we didn't really drive him in the car. I drove
Do you
most of the time.
understand that I don't believe you? Well, then,
I'm telling the truth.
you just say most of the time.
I drove most of the time.
And the other time?
Some of the times he drove, but our son was not in the car. I made a mistake. He wasn't in the car, in his car, because he
I don't
didn't
care
trust
whose
it.
car it was. Did he ever drive your car with you and your son in it?
No, he never drove my car with our son in it.
You wouldn't know the truth, madam, if it came up and struck you in the face.
I'm
you
telling
know
the
exactly
truth.
what I'm talking about. If you got into a car with him and you've told your attorney that he drinks and drives at the same time, that's what you told your lawyer.
He does drink and drive, but never with me in the car, or nor our son.
So never. So he never would put you in danger? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
And he never put your son
But
in danger? Is
I'm
that
not
what you're
saying that.
Sure.
I'm saying
but that's what
it's
you're
never
suggesting
happened.
to the court in your petition for full custody and denying him visitation. Please. Okay. Now, your case is dismissed. Yours. I'm dealing with your counterclaim. Listen to me carefully,
But
sir.
I have more evidence stating...
I'm not interested in anything else. You suffered no injury, and I can't believe or trust anything that you tell me because I believe, madam, that you messed up his apartment.
I didn't. I promise I didn't mess up his apartment.
Then perhaps I'm mistaken, and I'll have to
My mom
face
was
that.
there.
And I don't
she
believe
came
a
with
word
me.
that your mother says to me. If she says that you did nothing in that apartment when you left, I don't believe that. I also, sir, have to deal with your counterclaim. And your counterclaim is also dismissed. And I'm going to tell you why your counterclaim is dismissed. Listen carefully.
I'm listening, Your Honor.
Thank you.
When you deal in a custody case, there is going to be a judge who will ultimately determine which of you gets custody and which of you gets visitation. She made whatever statements she made here to a lawyer in a case that involves custody of your son. The judge will ultimately determine, after a full hearing, whether any or all of those allegations are correct. It is not the subject of another case in small claims court because you don't like what she says about you in the affidavit. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Now, you have anything to tell me about this hotel room incident and when it was?
No, Your Honor.
Perfect. Good. Go back to the family court, and all I can suggest to you is this. You have a 2-year-old son, not quite one.
Oh.
When you're tied together for the next 20 years. And I'm going to suggest that you stop feuding with each other, behave like adults, you go to court, you get yourself declared the father of this child so that there is a legal order of affiliation. Whichever of you is the most qualified, suitable parent will get custody. The other one, hopefully, will have reasonable visitation. And stop torturing each other. You don't have to live together, but you made a baby together. And if you make a baby together, for the sake of that baby, you have to get along. Clear?
We do get along.
Good. Goodbye.
Dishwasher Ebony Norwood is suing her former employer, restaurant owner George Demopoulos, for medical bills as the result of cutting her finger. Ebony also claims George owes for lost wages and harassment.
Now, this is case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Norwood versus Demopoulos. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Norwood, you worked for the defendant for a brief period of time, and it is your claim that you were injured on the job, that the defendant didn't pay for your medical bills, that he didn't pay you for wages, that he was uncaring, that he fired you. You want punitive damages in the amount of $2,000. Is that right?
Everything is correct, but I quit.
When was your last day of work?
I worked February, and in March I had someone else come in and take my place.
Why?
Because I went and did 30 days to get off probation.
So you worked for him in February?
Yes, ma'am.
How many weeks in February?
3.
What kind of work were you doing for him?
I was a dishwasher at the time.
He has a restaurant?
Had.
He had a restaurant?
Yes, ma'am.
So you worked for him for 3 weeks in February?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
For 4 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came back, he gave you your job back?
Yes, ma'am.
That was nice of him?
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid you on time?
Yes, ma'am. When he was there.
He doesn't have to be there. You're not his boss. He's your boss.
Thank you.
And he held your job open when you went to jail?
Yes, ma'am. He told me if I would find somebody to come in and replace me when I got out, I could get my job back.
That was still very nice of him.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you incarcerated for in March?
For property damage.
What kind of property damage?
Damage to a truck that I was found guilty of.
You vandalized somebody's truck?
That's what the man said.
Well, that's what either you found guilty of or you pled guilty to.
I didn't plead guilty. They found me guilty.
Oh. Now, you want to tell me, Miss Norwood, why you claim he owes you all this money?
Well, on May the 7th was when the incident took place.
May 7th?
Yes, ma'am, is when I got cut. I went.
Is when you got?
I got an lesion across my finger at the bottom.
You got a cut?
Yes, ma'am.
On your finger? Shh. Got a cut? You cut your finger?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing when you cut your finger?
I was cleaning up the back dish area, getting ready to leave, and I went to reach for the wire Brillo pad, and I got cut as I was taking it off the hook.
You got cut on a Brillo pad?
It's a wire scrub pad, like what you use to scrub pots and pans with, but it's made out of wire material.
Oh, had you ever used one of those before?
Yes, ma'am.
So why weren't you more careful?
It was pulling, and it was raggedy, so to speak.
Well, you couldn't you see that?
I was trying to get it off the hook so I can clean up. That's the only one he had in the building.
My question was, you had used it before.
Yes.
So you know that it's sharp?
But he had never cut me before. Oh. I had never got cut before by one.
Okay. And what happened?
I went and told Mr. Demopoulos that I had got a cut. He told me that it wasn't bad enough for me to go to the hospital when I had informed him that I was going to go to the doctor to get looked at.
Why were you going to go to a hospital?
Because it was cut deep. You could see the white meat in my finger.
Ooh, that sounds terrible. Did it have to be stitched?
I had 4 butterfly stitches put into my finger. And I have the paperwork here and everything from the doctor.
Can I see it, please?
That's everything, the paperwork from the doctors that I got from them.
I asked you a question, madam. I asked you lab results. Did you tell somebody in the hospital that you cut your finger with a knife?
No, ma'am.
That's what they wrote here.
I just got all of that recently from the hospital. I don't know what was in the paperwork. I told the...
I'm just telling you that that's what they wrote in the hospital record. That
well,
you told
they
them.
asked me...
Shh. I'm speaking. That's what they wrote here. That you told them that you cut your right index finger with a knife.
Well, that's incorrect. I told the doctor and the nurse as well that I was cut with wire Brillo pad. Why they put knife, I do not know. I just went and picked all of that up from the records, from everything that they had in my financial department, where they've been trying to get in touch with Mr. Demopoulos about taking care of everything, and that's what they gave me.
Listen to me very carefully. You can talk up a blue streak. Bottom line is, hospital record says you told a doctor that you cut your finger with a knife.
Well, it must have been a miscommunication.
Maybe. So you want these bills paid, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. It's on my credit. It has ruined my credit. I can't get a cell phone. I can't even apply for an apartment in my name. As you can see, the bill up there, the pink bill, is a note from the collection agency where they've been billing me, and the last time that I spoke with the lady, they had rerouted all the bills to Mr. Demopoulos' address.
Good. Okay. Now, so that's the bills part.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what's the other part of your lawsuit?
I'm suing for punitive damages.
What are the punitive damages, Ms. Norwood?
I feel like I was forced to quit. I was standing there and I took so much off of Mr. Demopoulos. He stood there. He would make racial comments. One day I came in after I had gave him the bills. I gave him the bills on May the 8th. May the 9th, I walked in and he was standing up front with all of his friends, and he stood there and he looked at me when I walked around the corner and said, "I don't want no in my restaurant," and said it 3 times to me, once up front, once in the dish area, and once at the back. I told Mr. Demopoulos, I said, "You need to pay me. I don't feel comfortable working here. I can't stand working here anymore. I done took all I could take. You need to pay me." He wouldn't pay me, so I walked out. His sister came in behind me. I told her she needed to leave me alone. When I walked back in, he was like, "I'm giving out paychecks." So I got my money, and then I left. And that following week, I had got my check stub and went to the lady that was doing his accounting, and she told me that I need to tell him to pay me the rest of my money. So
what's the rest of your money?
The week in the hole. He never paid me in full.
Listen to me. I have a question for you. Why did you tell me that you worked until May 16th for Mr. Demopoulos? You didn't work till May 16th.
I had a week in the hole. That's what my check stub said. My last check
I don't know
stub.
what that means.
My last current check stub.
I don't know what a week in the hole means.
You have to work a week before you get a full paycheck. You put a whole week.
I asked you how long you worked for Mr. Demopoulos. You said you worked for him until May 16th, but clearly you did not. Did you ever go back to work after you hurt your finger on May 7th?
I went back to work May 8th. He would never let me stay out of work.
So you went back on May 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you perform your function on May 8th?
No, ma'am.
Well, what did you do?
I stood there and he had me training another guy.
So you didn't do anything? You don't have to train somebody to do dishes?
Well, that's what he told me to do.
You don't have to train, well, because you wouldn't work. And did you come into work on May 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do?
Train the guy again.
Okay. Mr. Demopoulos.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about these medical bills, sir. You prepared to pay these medical bills?
I didn't tell her I was going to pay any bills.
No. Are you prepared to pay the medical bills? She cut her finger on the job.
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. I'll take care of the medical bills. When did she start working for you?
To me, if, for what I remember is correctly, it was around March.
Well, if you don't remember, then I have to take what she tells me as accurate.
Okay.
That she came to work for you in February.
That's a lie. But anyway, in March, she came to work. She worked for a month. She had to go to jail, so I allowed her to take her time off, allowed her to let her grandmother come in to wash dishes for her until she got out of jail. At the end of March, she came back. She washed dishes approximately 2 more weeks, went to court for 3 or 4 days.
Did you go to court for 3 or 4 days in April?
No, ma'am, I did not. I didn't have any court dates. When I went to jail on March the 1st.
Just listen to my question.
No, ma'am, I did not.
You worked every day?
Yes, ma'am. When I left jail on March, I went March the 1st
What
for
about
jail.
the stolen credit
and
cards
March
and all
the
that?
30th.
Shh,
March
don't speak.
the 30th.
Mr. Demopoulos, don't speak to her. She thinks she can talk faster than I can. She thinks she's smarter. She's not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She threatened to stab me with a fork. And the racial marks, excuse me, if there was any racial marks made, it was by her. She has attitude, as you can tell.
And later today,
in order to take a paternity test that courts will find valid, all 3 people should be there at the same time, and I understand that you have done that.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have the test results?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ebony Norwood says former employer George Demopoulos owes for medical bills when she cut her finger in his restaurant. George claims she threatened to stab him with a fork.
Tell me about what she had to go back to court for in April after she did her 30 days in March.
From what I understood, something about stolen credit cards. Her mother worked at a retirement home or something, and the credit cards were stolen by her mother, and her mother gave Ebony's name or something like that as her name, and Ebony ended up having to go into court for it. Okay?
You don't make up that kind of story,
Your
Miss
Honor, my
Norwood.
mother's here now.
Listen to me. You don't make up that kind of story.
When I left jail on March the 30th, I had never anything else to do with court. I was through with court. It was over with. I had no other cases pending, nothing.
Fine. All right, go ahead. Let me hear the
She was off 3 days for that. Then she was off again another 2 days the following week after the 3 days that she took off. She came back to work. She cut her finger about 2 weeks or a week later. Wanted a day off for her finger being cut. Did not get the day off from the doctor. She threatened to stab me with a fork. She threatened to, and the racial marks, excuse me, if there was any racial marks made, it was by her. She has attitude, as you could tell.
Listen to me. I don't see any way that somebody who would give her a job to begin with, allow her to take a month off to go to serve a jail sentence, keep her job open. She came back, why she would even suggest that you were biased in any way. I have no idea.
Thank you.
You can find the dishwasher anywhere. You don't require a particular skill to do that. Aside from the fact, Ms. Norwood, that I'm going to read to you what your complaint states, what you swore to. You said, after the May 7th incident, the doctor suggested I stay home for a few days. That's baloney. Okay?
I wasn't allowed to put my finger in water.
That's okay. You don't have to put your finger in water. Wear gloves.
He doesn't have gloves. He didn't have gloves in his restaurant.
You mean you didn't use them?
Shh. Then get one.
It wasn't my responsibility to buy them. He was my employer. He was my employer. He should have had all of that in there.
Miss Norwood, who do you work for now?
I work for Country Club.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a dishwasher there as well, /prep. And whatever they tell me to do.
I doubt that. But I'm going to finish reading your complaint. And your complaint says, the doctor suggested I stay home for a few days, but the defendant threatened to fire me. So about 3 days later, I went back to work. That's what you swore to.
That's when I actually started physically working. I went there, but I wasn't physically working.
Well, then why do you expect to get paid for that?
I was on the clock. He told me to come in to help him with the other guy that he had.
It's a very, very easy case. I'm not going to spend another minute on it.
And my mother can testify to his character.
I'm not interested in your... Listen to me. I'm not interested in what
that's my part of punitive damages.
Let me explain something to you. If you want to build your portfolio, your resume, I would suggest that you understand that nobody likes attitude unless it's coming from somebody who's got a position of strength. And until you learn a skill that you can do better than anybody else, I would suggest that you bottle your attitude. Do you understand?
I tried to bottle my attitude with him.
Now, this is my ruling. Pay careful attention. You see all these medical bills? I am holding you responsible for the cut on her finger that happened at her job. But the checks will be made payable directly to the facility.
Thank you.
To the hospital, to the provider who provided the service for her. She will not get a penny. Checks will be made payable directly here.
Thank you.
And aside from anything else, she gets Zippo.
Good.
Nothing.
She doesn't deserve it.
Absolutely nothing. Because she cut herself because she wasn't careful, but it happened during the scope of her employment, and therefore, you, sir, are responsible. If she chose to go to all different kinds of doctors to have this taken care of, you're still responsible. Pay this bill. But as far as punitive damages, baloney. You did a nice thing for her. You gave her a job. You held the job open. That's what you get for it. Just remember, be a better judge of character. Goodbye.
Thank you. I just sued you somewhere else for punitive damages. Can I get my papers back, please?
You think you can? I thought it was fair.
I don't think it was right.
Everybody wants to get paid for nothing.
It couldn't have been too little. I got 30 pills, and this is all I got left.
Might as well do it while you work for somebody else, right? That's because you don't have any other drugs to do.
No, you ain't got no other drugs to do.
This is an attituded person. She needs to learn how to curb that attitude towards performance instead of mouthing off.
You racist, you a racist.
Honey, I have black people working for me, and I've got black friends.
Yeah,
they come to my day every day, my house
you got
every
them all
day.
on your finger. That's how you know you racist. If you count all the black people you hang around on one finger, you know you a racist.
I got the one finger for you.
5-year-old homemaker Tamara Powell is suing her brother, 27-year-old construction worker Jason Root, and his girlfriend, 19-year-old Kelly Hoops, for a portion of her mother's bail. Tamara says her mother was arrested for embezzling over $500,000.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, this is case number 162 on the calendar in the matter of Powell versus Root Hoops. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Miss Powell, Mr. Root is your brother.
Yes.
And the co-defendant is his girlfriend. You have a lot of pieces to your complaint. The thrust of your complaint is your mother is currently incarcerated, and she's doing a prison term as a result of a conviction for embezzlement. It is your claim that at some point prior to her being incarcerated, your brother and his girlfriend called you and prevailed upon you to put up bail for your mother.
It was actually my brother and my sister, not his girlfriend.
So your brother called, or your sister, and asked you to assist in putting up bail money. It would be split 3 ways. You put up the bail money. Your brother hasn't paid you back.
No.
And how much was his share of the bail money?
The total bail was $4,800. Between 3 people is $1,600 apiece. My husband and I were actually on our honeymoon in the Bahamas.
Okay.
When we had gotten the call. So.
Okay. All right, let's deal with the bail first. Then we'll get on to the other things. All right, Mr. Root.
yes.
Since your girlfriend has, does she have anything to do with this case?
The only thing she really has to do is the fact that the stuff was stored at my mom's house, and that's where she lives, so that's where I involved her in it.
The stuff was
Sit down. Ms. Hoops, you're not necessary to this case. Case against you is dismissed. $1,600 for the bail money. Did you ask your sister to post bail money?
I did not. It was the, actually, it was the bail bondsman who actually had called her, was in contact with her. I didn't even know the number of where she was at.
You never agreed?
Oh, no, she says I agreed, but no, I never, ever agreed to it. I told her that was actually me and my little sister. At first, we were trying to acquire a loan to pursue of getting the bail money to get her out. Then all of a sudden, Tammy was gotten in contact with, and yes.
So you and your sister were trying to get a loan to get the money together.
Yes, because Tammy was...
Because Tammy was on her...
honeymoon.
Right. And at the time, Tammy didn't know that your mother needed to get out of...
Of jail, yes.
But you did.
Yes, of course.
And your sister did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you go to a bail bondsman?
No, we did not. I was called by a bail bondsman at work.
But somebody was contacted by a bail bondsman. Yes. And this bail bondsman, was he at your sister's wedding?
No.
So he had to have some form of telepathy to figure out how to get in touch with her.
I don't know how. Maybe it was my mother's attorney or my mother. I really don't have any clue on. I didn't
Now,
know where
when
she
you
was at or
went
staying
to
or
get
phone
the
number.
money to take out this loan, you were successful or not successful?
We tried to do it over the phone, actually, with a company. I not have the best credit, so no, they said no way. And Nicole, my little sister, does not have any credit whatsoever. It's mainly on her husband. So we were denied.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
Are you regularly employed?
Yeah.
So, construction people in construction make good money.
Depends on who you work for. A lot of people don't pay you what you actually deserve or what the work that you do for.
Well, do you get what you deserve?
I have just now started currently in the last 2 weeks.
I guarantee you're going to get what you deserve today.
Okay. I bet I will.
You will.
All right.
Who called you, Miss Powell? And make sure you tell me, who called?
I had messages. I was actually not in my room. When I came home, the light was blinking. I had messages from a bail bonds, I had messages from my sister, and I had messages from my brother.
What did your little sister say to you, Miss Powell?
That Jason was trying to get a loan using her credit and his income because she didn't work at the time.
Tell me about the conversation you had with Jason.
I said, okay, I would put it on my credit card and get it taken care of because if we didn't, it would go into the week and she'd be there all weekend. I didn't want that to happen. I talked with my brother after he had picked my mom up on the phone at her house, and he explained to me that how this is a time that all our family, our siblings should come together. It's not fair for you to burden the cost of everything. We will all split it with you. This is a time that we should be closer as a family, and now's the time, is what I was told.
I did say the closer part.
What?
I did say the closer part, yes. That is a time that what my mother's going through, that we should all pull together and actually become a family since we weren't always all together. And,
except when it came to money.
Actually, I didn't have any money at the time. No, Tammy offered to do it, so I never once ever offered to pay her.
She didn't offer. She was called.
She offered. She said, "I'll pay for her," and I thanked her. I was like, "Tammy, thank you. I couldn't come up with the money. Thank you. At least we get our mother back." But it was all on her credit card, and we all were under the assumption that if she didn't get indicted and put into prison, that Tammy would receive a refund, is what we were told.
Is that right?
I was never told anything like that, and my understanding is you never get bail back.
Depends upon what percentage, I guess. There's a formula. Sometimes bail is very often returned.
Oh, it is.
Well, she was indicted on embezzling $650,000, so.
Why aren't you giving your sister back the property? Couch, television set, I think that there's a list of property. I want you to explain why to me.
There's a couple reasons. I was offered to buy them. I was told to sell my old furniture. I was offered to buy them from my mother and as well as the plaintiff here, my sister.
Okay, fine. According to you, you bought the furniture.
Well, pretty much, yes. Yes, I did. In my belief,
for how much? In your belief? I told you you're going to get what you deserve here today.
Of course. Altogether, I believe I bought it for about $1,038.
And how much did you pay your mother?
Oh, I haven't. My mother never paid me for anything, so I haven't paid her nothing.
Just answer my question.
She has not received any money.
So then you didn't buy it. You see, there's not a completed sale.
I kind of did, because I was offered storage money and money that I would give it.
That's what I find interesting, Mr. Root. According to what I read here, well, first of all, you can't get your facts straight. You say that you bought the furniture from your mother for $500, and all of a sudden you come up with $1,030. Do you think I'm an idiot?
No, I think
Well, then one of us must be, because in your answer you said you bought it all for $500.
Well, no, that's all I was going to buy it for, yes.
Well, that's not what you say in your answer.
Well, my answer was that I was supposed to be given $100 a month for the 6 months of storing
Don't
her
get to
place.
storage. We're not there yet,
Okay.
Mr. Fast Dance. We are at the point where you swore in your answer that you bought this property from your mother for $500. And now you tell me it's $1,030. I mean, do you just have a problem with numbers?
Not at all.
When did you not tell the truth? When you swore to your answer or a moment ago?
I have not told the truth at all.
Right.
Or I have told the truth, but I have not lied at all whatsoever.
No, you got it right the first time. You're the same Mr. Root who said, now that Mom's in trouble, we all have to pull together as a family. Isn't that what you told me a moment ago?
Yes, to be closer.
And now, in your answer, you say, well, I agreed to buy my mother's stuff, and there was a lot more stuff that I had of hers, and I told her that she could leave her stuff here for $100 a month. My mother owes me $500 for storage, and therefore, we're even, because I agreed to pay $500 for the stuff, but she owes me $500 for storage, and therefore, your mother doesn't make that much making license plates in prison, sir.
No, it was way before she went to prison, ma'am. This was about 4 months before she even went to prison. It was back in November of last year.
November of last year, she agreed to pay you for storage. This is the same lady who couldn't come up with $4,800 bail. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think she had any money at the time. She ended up gambling it all away, I believe. My mother had a serious problem with gambling. She was at the casino
Mr. Root,
8 hours a day.
do you understand the ridiculousness of your position?
Not really, no.
Well, I'm going to explain it to you. First, you wanted to be a helpful member of the family, and then you're charging your mother to store some property in your house, $100 a month, and therefore you're charging that off against money that you promised to pay her.
After Tammy became vindictive like this, yes.
What do you mean after Tammy became
well, I was
vindictive?
going to pay for my mother's car. I ended up paying Tammy $518 for it. About 2 weeks later, she comes, takes it from my driveway.
Okay, so let me deal with you first, saying that I believe your sister when she says that you agreed to split your mother's bail 3 ways. So that's $1,600 her team. You will return all of your mother's property 5 days from today to your sister. Okay? Then we have an issue of a car. Now, I didn't quite understand the car issue, but I assume you're going to tell that to me very quickly, Miss Powell. Let me hear it.
The car he was supposed to return. My mom had written him a letter before.
Return to whom?
To the finance company, because she owed money on the vehicle.
Okay.
He was supposed to call the finance company, have the car turned in. He took it upon himself to drive the car, and he drove it for almost 2 months. Come to find out, he had no insurance, nothing on the vehicle.
So what's the damage?
When I got the car back, it was wrecked. There was $230 that I had paid for the rear suspension to be fixed, and I have estimates between $785 up to $1,200 for the body damage.
Where is the car now?
The car now is with my sister-in-law.
Forget it. What's next?
Okay, there's the computer system that was also at my brother's house.
You said that was scratched.
No. It was
damaged.
ruined, completely ruined.
And I don't know how it was before. Next.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
So you were having a party where there was illegal drinking going on in your room.
I do have proof that she was the one that, before the beer was poured over the computer, it punched me in the face and was going insane.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tamara Powell says her brother, Jason Root, owes for his share of their mother's bail and for the return of her belongings.
I do find that among all the other things that your sister wants in her pipe dreams, she is entitled to $1,600, which is 1/3 of the bail that was posted for your mother, because I do believe that you said to her, we're all going to pitch in together and we're all going to act as a family, and you shouldn't be totally responsible for Mom's bail. So I find that you do owe her $1,600. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all.
Why is that excused? Step out, please.
Bail money, I mean, that's my mother's responsibility. She did the crime. She deserves the time. She's a convict. She's a criminal.
His greed of wanting things that don't belong to him took over and became more important than a relationship with his mother.
Tammy feels guilty about being involved in my mother's crimes from the very beginning. I believe Tammy helped my mother embezzle the whole $650. She knew about it the whole time. I know that. It was going through a joint account between both of them. Tammy was the first one brought in before my mother was even brought in.
I guess maybe it's probably his way of saying more vindictive things, and you know, here you're on TV, so he'd probably like to say what he can.
I have my father and my little sister and my aunt and all them, but don't really care about Tammy and my mother that much.
I choose not to have a family. I don't participate in drugs and alcohol and stuff, and that's kind of the side that he's on, so I choose not to have that anyways. Relationship is fine just the way it is.
Electrician Jason Stries is suing his ex-wife, Charla Stries, for child support costs. Jason says he has custody of Charla's daughter from a previous marriage. Charla is countersuing, claiming Jason won't let her see her kids.
Your Honor, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Stries versus Stries. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Stries, the defendant is your former wife.
Correct.
How long were you married?
All together, about 6 years.
And you have a child together?
Correct.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
And you have custody of that child?
Correct.
And Mrs. Stries has a child from a previous relationship.
Mm-hmm.
How old is that child?
9.
And you also have physical custody of that child.
That's true.
And how long have you had physical custody of both children?
Both children, about 2.5 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Is that when the two of you separated 2.5 years ago?
No, we actually separated in August of '99. And then when we separated, a short amount of time went by, and then she left the area with Felicia and Cameo to Arizona. And then I flew down and got the children in her and drove back in her car. And from that point on, I've had the children.
Did she remain with you?
No, she stayed about 2 months, and then she drove back.
Leaving you with both children?
Correct.
And you've had them ever since?
Yes.
Your lawsuit says that your former wife receives child support for the older child from the older child's father.
That's right.
And you have not gotten that money.
No.
And the child's been in your custody. So you are suing her for that money.
Correct.
Not child support that she should pay you for your daughter and her daughter.
No.
She doesn't pay you any child support, I assume.
Well, she's starting to now. There's an order in place.
But prior to that,
Yeah.
she hadn't given you any support for your daughter.
No.
And she hadn't given you the support money that she collects for Cameo.
No.
And that's what your lawsuit is for. Not for the support for your daughter
No.
for the last 2.5
right.
years, but only for the money that she collects from Cameo's father.
That's right.
Mrs. Stries says that you agreed to let her keep that money because she gave up spousal support. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
How much were you collecting for the 2 years that Cameo was in Mr. Stries' custody?
Well, it's originated as $239 a month, and then, but if he didn't work a whole month, then, you know, I only got a portion of that. So it was generally about $185 a month.
You want to explain to me, Ms. Stries, what your defense is? This about waiving spousal support? Tell me about it.
Okay, well, this all started, I needed to get into acquaintance with my biological father after my mother died. And I tried to get Jason to move to Arizona a few times, and he didn't seem too anxious to do that. And I started going through depression and all kinds of feelings of loss and stuff, and I was not myself at all. And I decided that I needed to go be with my family and get to know my biological father. Well, I moved in with my biological father with my 2 children, and I didn't realize that I was walking into a life of hell. I basically moved into a house that was full of drugs. I didn't know this until after I got to Arizona. You know, I mean, I was unaware of it at all. And I got to Arizona, and the house was just,
Okay,
you know,
so it was a
people
bad
coming.
situation.
Very
So-
bad. And I
That was 1999.
Right, I was very stuck.
Let's fast
there.
forward.
I was very stuck because my car broke down and I couldn't work. And so I decided that, you know, I started getting into the drugs, and I decided that the best thing for me to do for my children were to bring them back to their dad.
Good.
Because
So
I
that's
knew
what
he
you
was
did.
a good father.
That's what you
And
did.
Right, but I had to go back down to Arizona to testify to a hearing down there.
About what?
About a drug situation that went on in the house.
Let's get to your defense to this action.
Okay. The reason I haven't
The
sent
reason
him
you
the
kept
checks,
the money
right,
is
because he was telling me to go ahead and keep them, because he said that he wanted his wife to be supported by
Is
some
that what
kind
you
of
said
money.
to her?
That's not true. You got to understand, it was a little bit of a precarious situation because I had custody of a daughter that I'm not a biological parent for, and under her situation that she was currently involved with, I was afraid to force the issue because the father might step in, and I had no contact with him. For a long time, he had no idea that I had the kids.
What you're suggesting is that you felt threatened that either the biological father or the defendant would come back to take Cameo if you pressed the issue of the money.
Very much.
Is that right?
I was very, very frightened of that, yes.
Very good. Then what changes that now?
I've spoke with the father, and he knows what's going on.
Then you should have spoken to him before, Mr. Stries. I was very sympathetic for you when I read your papers, and I said he's absolutely entitled to that money. But if what you're telling me is for 2.5 years you decided to forego that, it's not fair now to say, well, I spoke to the father, he's well aware of the situation, he doesn't want custody, and therefore I can go against her for the money. That's really what you're doing.
That's
right?
correct.
Well, you can't do that. That's unfair.
That's unfair?
Yes, it's unfair. If you had put her on notice immediately and said, I want the money that you want, put your hand down. I want the money that you're getting for Cameo, because that's the right thing to do.
I see your point.
You do see my point.
I see your point.
And if you didn't do that because you wanted to keep things quiet and you lulled her into the sense of, well, I'm going to be able to keep this money because he wants to keep things quiet. I mean,
That's not true.
Who are you?
I'm sorry.
Who are you?
My name is Donna.
Who are you to this?
I'm a witness.
Who are you to this case?
I'm a witness to the plaintiff.
Are you his girlfriend?
I guess you can call me that.
I'm not interested in hearing from you. Didn't I make that clear by not acknowledging you?
That's a lie.
Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, I do.
And I want to explain something further to you. These are not your 2 children.
That's correct.
Don't get involved. Do you understand?
They live with me.
I don't care. Don't get involved.
Fine.
That's a big mistake. It's between these 2 people, not you. So you get my point?
I get your
You
point.
lulled her into a false sense of security, and I don't care how much she's given you this prodding and say you got to get the money back from her. The smart thing to do is nothing. Now she's sending support. The father is aware of the situation. You want to sue him for support, fine.
To him?
Yes, of course.
For back support?
No,
Okay.
prospective.
Okay.
Back support you pay.
All right. That's going on right now.
Fine. Good. Then, as far as the other money is concerned, it's gone. Kiss it to God. It never happened. We understand each other?
Yes.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not her fault you got involved with the drug
No, it's
culture and
not.
people who commit murder and people who sell drugs and are trying to put your life back in order. An innocent person shouldn't have to suffer because of what a guilty person did.
And later today,
When were you divorced?
It was during summertime.
I know the hour and the second.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Stries claims ex-wife Charla Stries owes for the cost to support her child. Jason says he has custody because Charla has a drug problem.
Now, let's get to your nonsense counterclaim. I'll hear you. 30 seconds.
It is nonsense. I personally, I'm just trying to get back on my feet. I've been trying to do that since I came back in August. And I had to go down to Arizona for another situation that I was in. Someone killed someone with a knife of mine, and I had to go testify.
Ms. Stries, are your 2 daughters in a good situation for them?
Well, yes
The
and
answer
no.
is they are.
Yes
The
and
answer
no.
is they are.
Right.
In a good situation for them. Stable? Certainly your younger daughter is going to stay with her father. There isn't any question about that unless some family court judge has not eaten a full breakfast. And you should, as the child's mother, have reasonable contact with this child.
Right.
Cameo's a different story.
Right.
The law is more complicated with regard to Cameo because Cameo is not Mr. Stries' biological child. However, I am sure that a court will look at the facts in this case and could very well determine that there are extenuating circumstances. The fact that you are the child's biological parent is not necessarily dispositive of the issue.
Right.
Which, in all probability, should happen because these two little girls have spent their lives together. And to pull one away would be really cruel. And you don't want to be a cruel
That's
parent.
why I don't have her now. Because
Right.
when I came back, I could have taken her. Because there was no law and order set in that he got custody of her.
Does he now have a legal order of temporary custody?
He does at the moment, yes.
Good.
But that was because I did not want to pull her away from her sisters or her dad.
Well, what I'm telling you is, you think long and hard. You know, an innocent person shouldn't have to suffer
Right.
because of what a guilty person did. And your daughter Cameo has been with her sister her whole life.
Right.
This is the only family she knows.
Right.
It's not her fault you got involved with the drug
No, it's
culture and
not.
people who commit murder and people who sell drugs and are trying to put your life back in order. May take you another year or so to do that, and that would be half of her life that she spent.
Right.
So
I'm sorry.
you have to think of what the child's best interests involve. And the child's best interest probably involves spending at least her minority with Mr. Stries, with seeing you regularly if you get your life together.
Right.
That's why you're supposed to
I
do
have-
nothing to interfere with that.
I have
right?
a lot of evidence that I've been getting my life in order.
I'm not interested in evidence. As long as you started out by saying to me, Mrs. Stries, that your counterclaim for emotional distress was nonsense, I'm willing to accept that because I don't have to deal with nonsense. Mr. Stries, it looks to me as if you've done the right thing, like you've acted responsibly, like you're doing a good job with these two girls, like everything is calm. That's the way you got to keep them, right?
That's right.
You're getting support now from her, just started.
Just started,
You're going to
yep.
get support from Cameo's father,
Correct.
as long as he's still in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Good. What?
He's making my recovery impossible. He's never letting me see my kids when he's supposed to. He's
Just a
changing the
second.
days.
You have a court order for visitation?
Not with my oldest daughter, because it's just a temporary thing. And I was supposed to be visiting her on Wednesdays and Saturdays until I got through my treatment. I'm through with my treatment now.
Do you now have an order of visitation for both of your girls?
No. Well, see, one thing that happened is the divorce finalization went on, and I never even knew it was happening.
What you have to do, Mrs. Stries, is seek a court order of visitation.
Okay.
Let me tell you what's going to happen when you seek a court order of visitation with both girls. They will assign a law guardian, and a good judge will assign a law guardian to represent the interests of both children. And it may be that especially your older daughter, maybe your younger one too, going to involve a period of time of adjustment, seeing you with a therapist, seeing you under controlled circumstances, getting to know that they can rely on every Wednesday or every Saturday seeing their mother. If their father is a smart man, and I think he is, he has to understand that growing up without any contact with their mother is a very bad thing for them long term. Now, you may get some flack from that from your girlfriend, but I'm telling you that's being short-sighted if that happens, because long-term children should not feel deserted by a parent. They can understand as they get older that their mother may have had a drug problem, and that she's cleaned it up, and that she did the best that she could for them by letting them stay with you, but she still loves them and she's still in their life. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That may be taking a hard swallow on your part. You understand?
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay, good. I somehow thought you would. You need a set order, not something that you work out together. You need an order of the court that says, this is when you go, this is when you pick them up, this is when you drop them off, this is when you see them, this is a therapist that you're going to see them with, so that you have some understanding. He should not interfere with your recovery, but you have to be proactive. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is in the children's life right now.
I would like my children back with me,
I understand she has problems,
that my kids get what they need,
and I have hopes that she'll work those out,
and they get to be with both of their parents
and that eventually everything will go a lot more peacefully.
without all this riffraff in the middle.
She's claiming that I'm making things hard for her.
I mean, he used to be my best friend, you know?
I really do believe that she's made it hard on herself.
He claimed to have been, and now he seems like my enemy almost.
My hope that things will continue to improve.
I want to be in my children's life, you know?
Nonprofit organization director Cheryl Green is suing makeup artist Wendy Crawford for the cost of vet bills. Cheryl says after rescuing Wendy's Dalmatian, she paid for it to be fixed. Wendy is countersuing for damages due to Cheryl's actions.
Now, this is case number 95 on the calendar in the matter of Green versus Crawford. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
What I gather from your complaint, Miss Green, you went to look at a house for some reason, and in the house you found this dog. And you thought the dog had been either abandoned or a stray. You took the dog at some point to a veterinarian. I assume that the veterinarian is this lady here wearing the white coat. Perception. I'm perceptive. And you spayed the dog, gave the dog shots, and then a day or so later you get a call from the defendant who says, you got my dog. And you said, no, I don't have your dog. Your dog's at the vet, and if you want the dog, you can go get the dog. The dog, there's a vet bill, you pay it. So you want the vet bill paid by the defendant because you must have guaranteed payment on the vet bill when you brought the dog in. So I assume that that's the reason why you are suing the defendant instead of the veterinarian suing the defendant. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The defendant says you stole her dog. You had no right to get the dog spayed and neutered. She is counterclaiming. She said she had wanted to breed this dog, which I assume is a purebred Dalmatian.
Yes.
And she's suing for thousands. $4,927. So I have a couple of questions for you. On what date did you find this dog?
Around June 10th, Your Honor. We were house hunting, and we had been looking at one house. We were about to leave, and we were talking to one of the neighbors who said that the tenants who did not own the house had left the house, and they had left the dog.
You mean this was the house you were looking at?
Correct. We were looking at one house. The dog was at someone else's house.
At someone else's house? What does that mean, at someone else's house?
The dog was in front of another neighbor's house.
Without a leash, without a collar, just outside on the street?
Correct, on the front lawn.
What did you do?
We talked to that neighbor as well, who said that originally those people had given the dog to the Crawfords. The Crawfords had moved. They could not take the dog with them. They had returned the dog to the neighbors. The neighbors didn't want the dog. At that point, I noticed the dog had blood on her belly.
Stop. You were renting a house.
Yes.
And you started to lease that house when?
We had lived there for 2.5 years at that point.
Where did you move to?
What happened was the house was contaminated with a poisonous mold.
I asked you a question. Where did you move to?
We moved into another house in Reseda. There was still furniture inside the house.
I'm going to ask questions.
Okay.
You moved to a new house in Reseda. Is that right?
At that moment, no.
Where did you move to?
We went to stay at a friend's in a little apartment with no yard or anything. We had to move within 24 hours. We had a child that was, both of our children were very ill.
Could you just wait till I finish? On what date did you leave?
About May 1st.
Did you take your dog with you?
No, she was being...
I just answer my questions. You did not?
No, she was staying in the yard.
So is what you're telling me from May 1st, 2002 until June 10th, 2002, you left the dog outside at the old address?
Where we went to daily, as well as having the neighbors help us watch the dog. I was there constantly, packing, cleaning, sanitizing everything that was contaminated by the mold that could be saved.
Didn't you ever hear of the word kennel?
Yes. Don't you think that would be more cruel to put her in a box and let her be in her yard?
No. I think that it wouldn't be more cruel to abandon a dog for 6 weeks, alone, outside in a yard. No, I think it's more appropriate to put the dog in a kennel where there is veterinary care, where other animals couldn't get a hold of it, where perhaps other children couldn't torture it and maybe throw stones at it, where it would be watched if you couldn't take care of it, if you loved it.
We did have help from the neighbors to watch the animals for us as well as when we were there. They, you know, watching us at night to make sure when we weren't there.
I'm so far very unsympathetic with you, madam. I'm getting more unsympathetic by the moment. Where did you buy this dog?
The dog was given to us by the neighbor.
So it was a gift?
Yeah.
So you spent nothing?
To purchase her? No.
In any event, you found the dog sitting out on the front lawn?
Yes, Your Honor.
With no collar?
Correct.
What did you do with the dog? You noticed blood on her belly, so what did you do?
Yes, I took her to my veterinarian.
Okay, and you had the veterinarian check her over. You found that she was in heat?
Yes.
And you made arrangements to have the dog spayed, neutered, and shots?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
After we had spoken and she knew that I wanted the dog.
I'm speaking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have no sympathy for you.
And I'm getting that.
Would you leave one of your children outside in the backyard and go and give it food and water for 6 weeks?
No.
And later today,
she hit the back of my leg. It spun me around because I was on my skateboard.
You looked up and you saw her. What was she doing when you...
She looked and kind of smirked and peeled out of the driveway.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Green says dog owner Wendy Crawford owes for the cost to fix her dog.
You did have a choice, Miss Green. You understand that?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I did not have a choice.
You did.
I am part of a rescue organization that is mandated to take strays, especially if we feel that they are in imminent danger of a health or life risk.
There are alternatives. They may not be happy alternatives, but there are alternatives. If someone has a stray dog, they don't necessarily take the dog to a private veterinarian to have the veterinarian take care of it. There are, I don't know if they have an ASPCA or a Humane Society or something else.
We are a Humane Society, Your Honor. Sorry.
Did you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Where they might take the dog and keep the dog for a certain period of time, perform whatever services need to be performed for the dog. On what date did Miss Crawford contact you?
On the evening of the 11th.
So a day later?
Yes.
And when had the surgery been performed on the dog?
On the 11th.
That's absolutely not true, ma'am.
Well, let's find out. Step up. Tell me your name.
Dr. Heather Kriansky.
Okay. Do you know on what date the surgery was done?
I believe it was on the 11th.
Do you have the dog's chart?
Yes, Your Honor.
I wasn't contesting when the surgery had been done, just that we had spoken before she had done the surgery. That she knew I wanted her back, that she knew that we were happy.
When did you speak to her?
I spoke to her on Tuesday night.
What date?
The 10th.
Oh, did you speak to her on Tuesday night, Miss Green?
I spoke to her on Tuesday night, the 11th, Your Honor.
Well, the day before the surgery.
Was it before or after the surgery?
It was after the surgery, Your Honor.
That's absolutely not true. And I have a witness to that fact.
Who was that?
That's my husband. He was
I don't
there
believe,
when we
wouldn't
spoke.
believe him either. Anybody who leaves a dog for 6 weeks, I don't believe. Miss Green, bottom line is, there was no emergency in having the dog spayed at the moment that you had the dog spayed. Is that correct, doctor?
Yes.
So, that action was precipitous. I am not reimbursing. This is not your bill. Whether she has to pay the bill or her rescue society pays that bill, that's totally between the two of you. Now, let's get to your counterclaim for $5,000. You got 30 seconds.
Well, I have to tell you, I think it's very dangerous, the vet. I have papers from the vet that says that
The dog is perfectly healthy. Next. Don't start crying to me, madam. If you care about an animal, you do not leave an animal outside for 6 weeks when you move.
The neighbors were caring for her as well.
Let me explain something to you. I don't see a neighbor here.
I have signed affidavits.
I don't read signed affidavits. All I know is this lady did not go and steal your dog and didn't have a conversation with a neighbor and said, listen, I said I couldn't deal with the dog. I gave them the dog. They left. They left the dog here and told us to watch it. And I can't deal with it anymore.
And please look at this note that she left me that didn't even say that she took my dog.
Stop.
That I had to hunt
Let me tell you something.
her.
I am a dog owner. I would not leave my dog for 6 weeks out in a backyard or a front yard or in a house when I moved. And I don't see how you can justify in your own mind doing that.
Even if you spent every day with her?
Oh, yes. You mean you left your sick children to go over there and spend all day with the dog? Is that what you're telling me?
And when they had an eventful recovery in a couple of weeks, they were there as well, playing with her in the backyard.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
You're not getting any money, madam.
What about...
Somebody get... What about? I have no sympathy for you.
And I'm getting that. But what
you
about
are
the
getting it, you're not
bills?
getting it. You don't would you leave one of your children outside in the backyard and go and give it food and water for 6 weeks?
No.
That's the way most people feel about their animals.
And I
if
do
they
as
love
well.
them. Do you understand?
Yes.
If they love them.
And I totally understand why you're upset.
Oh, good. I'm glad you do. Because if you wouldn't leave one of your children in the backyard, giving it food and water and come over and playing with them occasionally, then you don't do the same for a dog. This dog can't fend for itself if a child comes over and decides to take a stone and throw it in the yard at the dog. Can't. Can't fend for itself if somebody comes in to steal it and to make it into a fighting dog. Can't fend for itself.
All right.
You did the wrong thing.
What else would I have done in this case?
You take the dog and find the best possible kennel you can and say, I can't take care of my dog for 4 weeks or 5 weeks because I'm moving in with a friend who has a small apartment and I don't have a friend or a relative or anyone else who's willing to take the dog. I'm going to have to spend some money to take care of it. You chose not to do that. For that, you don't get rewarded. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I've already explained to you about your case. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was very dirty, scruffy, unkempt looking. She looked like she had been on the street for days, perhaps.
I think this is just a case of someone that's nosy coming into your life and trying to impose their will. She was not filthy. She was not cared for.
We asked the neighbors. Both neighbors on both sides of the house told us that the people had left the dog.
She did what she wanted after speaking to me, imposed her will, and then gave her back and said, hey, I want you to pay the bill.
Restaurant manager Teresa Baumgarth is suing her ex-boyfriend, amusement park technician Jeremy Beebe, for unpaid rent and for destroying her belongings in a fit of rage. Jeremy is countersuing for the return of rent, personal belongings, and a dog.
Now, this is case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Baumgarth versus Beebe. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Baumgarth, what do you do for a living?
I'm a restaurant manager.
And you, sir?
I'm an industrial technician and student.
You work full-time?
Yes, Your Honor. I just quit my job to complete my degree, though. I'm in my last year of college.
Degree in?
Business administration.
Where do you go to school?
DeVry University.
According to what I've read in your complaint and your answer, the two of you lived together for about 11 months in an apartment that you leased together. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was a year's lease?
Yes.
According to you, Ms. Baumgarth, the relationship was a stormy one. Over a year ago, you claimed that Mr. Beebe caused some damage to some of your property, your car, because he had a temper tantrum, something else. You want him to pay for that property damage. That happened a long time ago.
It was towards the middle of the relationship, towards the end.
Well, no,
he just broke the property.
It was towards the beginning of the relationship, according to what I read here. The summer of 2002, we had an argument, and he started damaging my belongings. And then in August of 2002, he got angry and he bent the emblem on my steering wheel. And you still live together, right?
Yeah, we had a year lease, and that was about 8
You were
months.
still living together, sleeping together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then in January of 2003, you had another argument. And tell me about that argument that you had in January of 2003.
Well, most of the time we were just arguing whether it be over money or I don't even know what the specific thing we could have been arguing over.
And what day in January was that?
It was January 21st. That was the day I had asked him to leave.
And what happened during that argument?
It got pretty heated. His actions had scared me, and he had broken the coffee table, which I have.
He broke a glass coffee table?
Yes.
Okay, and how did he break the glass coffee table?
By picking it up and slamming it down the corner of it.
Is that right?
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Well, how did you break the glass coffee table?
What happened was the plaintiff and I were standing beside the coffee table, and as you know, the glass sits on the four corners of the table, and we had somehow pushed the glass aside, and in the middle of us arguing, I reached down, we were still arguing, talking, I reached down, I picked up the glass, I pulled it over to get it back into place, and I just dropped it down, and the corner broke off.
You had to drop it pretty hard.
Actually, I just let go of it, Your Honor.
You certainly didn't place it on the coffee table. You know what
That's
I'm talking
correct.
about?
That is correct.
Right. And that happened during an argument. So that's what happened on January 21st?
Yeah, I was on the other side of the table, and to get to me, he moved the table and broke it.
But that's what happened on January 21st, and you told him to move?
Yes, I asked him to leave that evening, or I would get authorities to make him leave that night.
And then you changed the locks?
No, I didn't change the locks. It was about after Valentine's Day. I had asked someone to take care of my dog overnight, and I had given them the key, and I had lost my key.
January 21st, you asked him to leave, or you would call the police, and he left. So this is what your lawsuit is about. You want him to pay for the remainder of the lease, the month that was left on the lease.
Yes, February's rent.
And for the prior damage that he did, including the glass coffee table.
Yes, and the car, which is a lease. And he said at the time, when we were arguing in the car, and he was speaking with a very violent tone to me at the time when he was punching the emblem on the Honda. I had gotten out of the car because I was scared. Then, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. That's why I kind of, we stayed together a little bit longer, because, you know, if you didn't talk to me that way,
Listen to me.
Always make us...
Listen to me. Not interested what happened in the summer of 2002. That's forgiven by your conduct.
Well, he told me that when he did that, he was sorry and that he would fix it. I said, what are you doing? My car's a lease. I can't afford for you to just break it. He had told me when we were together, don't worry, baby, I'll take care of it. I'll fix it. I'll get it fixed. I broke it. I'll take care of it. Everything, when he broke something, he was going to take care of it. And then...
And you stayed.
And...
Listen to me. Are you afraid of him? Are you afraid of him?
He did intimidate me at times.
Are you afraid of him now?
No.
Well, why aren't you afraid of him now?
Because I'm not living with him anymore.
If he has behavior that is irrational, why wouldn't you still be afraid of him?
Because I'm not staying with him anymore.
Okay. All right, now let me get to your counterclaim. Mr. Beebe, your counterclaim is that you kept your dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Dog that she had given to you as a gift.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition to keeping your dog, you want her to reimburse you for the 10 days in rent. It says 10 days in rent.
Yes, ma'am.
That you paid for the month of January when she threw you out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am. She made me leave on the 21st, and I paid through the 31st.
Okay, so that's your counterclaim.
Along with some belongings.
What belongings?
A dresser, a Soloflex, the rent, and deposit.
What deposit?
We both split a $250 deposit when we initiated the lease.
Is that right?
No. That's with the pet deposit, $250, which I wrote the check. Okay, and he did not give me the money for the deposit because he said, oh, you'll get the money back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
January, February, March, April, May, June. I want you to tell me, sir, what took you so long to come to court to complain about your dog?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teresa Baumgarth says ex-boyfriend Jeremy Beebe owes for smashing her coffee table and damaging her steering wheel. Jeremy claims she took his rat terrier.
Okay, so you originally paid both the security deposit and the pet deposit. So show me checks. You should have checks for $500.
Yes, I have those checks.
I'd like to see them, please.
Okay. Here's their copy of the ledger of every check I wrote. So it says the amount and what check I gave them.
That's a lot of paperwork for that. What you want to show me? Okay.
She circled them.
Security deposit, payments $300. What date did you start your lease?
March 1st. I prorated for a couple weeks, I guess, to move in. So
and what date did you get the dog that we're talking about?
August 28th, I bought the dog.
Sir, her accounts indicate that she paid both the pet deposit and the security deposit.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have proof that you paid?
No, Your Honor.
Good. If you have no proof, then I don't have to listen.
But, Your Honor, if you look at the ledger there, you'll see a trend from the very beginning. When I first moved in with the plaintiff, she requested that she pay for everything with her check and her credit cards to establish her accounts. Everything from food to rent to everything was paid by her, and I gave her the money.
How did you give her the money? In what?
In cash, ma'am.
Cash? Can't help you. Can't help you. Write her a check. It's a good lesson. If you're giving her money, write her a check and say, this is my share of the security deposit, my share of the rent, my share of the food, and if you don't do that, don't come to me fetching. Do you understand? I don't want to hear the complaints. All right. Now let's talk about your dog. Did you buy him a dog as a gift?
No, I did not. I have proof that for his birthday, I bought him another gift.
What'd you buy him?
A very expensive high 9 picture.
Okay. I don't want to hear about you.
And I bought it
You
on
say you bought him a
March.
picture. My question to you, Mr. Beebe, is this. You broke up when, sir? In January?
January 21st, Your Honor.
January, February, March, April, May, June. I want you to tell me, sir, what took you so long to come to court to complain about your dog that you love?
I've requested for that dog many, many times, Your Honor.
What took you so long to come, listen to my words, what took you so long to come to court for the dog that you love?
Because she was taking care of the dog, and I just felt that we could take care of it when in my countersuit here.
Mr.
But in the meantime, yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Beebe, you sound ridiculous. If I woke up one morning and didn't see my dog and knew that my next-door neighbor had my dog in the house, I would be either at the police or at the courthouse the next day saying, I want my dog back. I wouldn't say, well, my neighbor is taking real good care of my dog, and my dog seems to like my neighbor, so I think I'll leave my neighbor there until I get around to maybe 6 months or a year later
Your Honor.
going to court.
When the plaintiff is claiming...
Beebe, listen to me. Don't make yourself appear more foolish.
That's the last thing I am.
countersuit was an afterthought. Now, if you want to say to me, she threw me out and I'm entitled to pro rata rent for the 10 days, that's a reasonable thing. She threw you out, you paid your rent, and you should get your money back. You understand? You understand? You threw him out January 21st. You'd already paid January's rent.
Well, had I called the police, they would have made him leave.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You asked him to move, he moved. He's entitled to 10 days' worth of rent back. But your recent attachment to the rat terrier fallen on deaf ears.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your request for your half of the security deposit, proof of which you have deaf ears. But you are entitled to 10 days' worth of rent. Now,
And the
10 days'
dresser,
worth
Your
of rent comes to, according to you, $133. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, do you also, Miss Baumgarth, have his dresser and his sports equipment?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I could not move it, so I left it at the apartment place. I had asked the defendant and called him numerous times. When he moved out, I was at work. Like, he just took his clothes that night, and then about mid-February got a U-Haul and then moved the rest of his stuff.
Okay,
So
in
That's incorrect.
In mid-February, whenever it was, at some time after January 21st, did you come to the apartment and move some of your property?
Yes, Your Honor. Two of the 3 times I came, I was not able to get into the apartment.
I don't care, but one of the times you were able to get into the apartment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. And what property did you take with you?
Everything but the dresser and the Soloflex.
Why didn't you take those 2 things?
Because the U-Haul was full. I got the biggest U-Haul. I couldn't fit nothing else. I made arrangements with her to come back and pick up the 2 other items. She would not let me in. She changed the locks, and I could not get into my own apartment.
That was in
That was in the beginning of February, Your Honor.
February, March, April, May, June. Shh. Do you live there anymore?
I lived there till the
Do
end of
you
March.
live there anymore? She doesn't live there anymore. The lease is over. Sir,
Well, my belongings were left in her custody, Your Honor.
that's your fault. Go to court.
I am in court, Your Honor.
No, you waited, sir, too long. What did you expect her to do with your belongings in March when she moved out, when the lease was up?
Your Honor, I expected to pick them up in the beginning of February, like
Then
we
you
arranged.
go to court or you go to the police station and say, I need a police escort to pick up my things. She let you into the apartment. You didn't get a big enough U-Haul. If they have a U-Haul, it's, sir, that you can rent that are big enough to move the Empire State Building. The fact that you chose to rent a little one is nobody's fault but your own.
I rent the biggest one, Your Honor, the biggest one.
No, sir. Listen to me. Impossible. They have vans that you can rent. Chose not to do it, fine. You're entitled to your rent back. You, madam, are entitled to this. You are entitled to the replacement for that glass. Now, you want to tell me how much you paid for that glass?
I got an estimate for, I bought the coffee table, but to replace just the glass, I had an estimate.
Just the glass?
Yes.
You want to just tell me what the estimate is?
It's $240 plus $65 delivery charge.
240 plus 65, unless he wants to rent another U-Haul and bring it over.
No.
Equals 305. 305 minus 133, which would be your share of the rent that you would have otherwise been entitled to had you not had a hissy fit on her coffee table, equals $172. Case is over.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ladies are excused. You may step out.
I think she's angry. I think she's jealous of my life and lifestyle.
That was the final straw when he put his hands on me. You know, you can break stuff and act upset and violent, but, you know, that was sort of the final straw.
I think she was making me out to be a violent tyrant, and I'm nothing but a professional.
He just has no morals, or he's not a real man. He can't pay his bills, so.
I've given her the utmost respect during the times we were together, and she's just vindictive.
Hey, honey, how was golf?
Great.
Who won?
I think we're all winners. Good thing I made that last button with double or nothing for the matching song.
Hey, Barry, you're amongst friends now. You can exhale.
Oh, thank God. Hey, listen to this. It says here I got invited to play